can't stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line.
Do not forget. Expect us.
This is a message to all supporters. A message to all freedom fighters, to all dissenters, to all forgotten. A call to all intellectuals, to all journalists. A call to all freethinkers. A call for intelligence. This is a call to all poets. A call to the strong and the weak. A call to all young people. To the wise, to the astucious. We want you to join us. We are on the streets of Tokyo. In the skyscrapers of New York. In the lanes of Paris. In the cellars of Munich. On Moscow's icy places. On the cobbled streets of Dublin. This is a call to all people. To the youth. Join us in the fight for freedom of information. Search for us, and you will find us. We are among you. We are you. Everyone you speak with can be a member of Anonymous. We have no leaders, only an orientation. We have no targets, only results. You cannot stop us, because we are an idea. We cannot be eliminated, because we are invisible. If you try to mock us, we will mock ourselves. If you try to slander us, we will accept the defamation. We are the king's jesters with daggers. We are the dancing bear which tears to pieces the laughing mob. We are Anonymous. We are Legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us, just as we expect you.
councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
listeners tonight.
And welcome to Anonymous Fights Back, episode 154. We are back. We do have a special guest, Commander X. I do want to say something before Commander X gets on. I do have an update. If you're not aware of what's going on with Chelsea Manning, she was arrested a couple of hours ago in federal court. They basically subpoenaed her and asked her to answer the same question she was supposed to answer in the other grand jury, and she refused to testify. So now she's in jail, and
so she's in jail for using her Fifth Amendment right.
Yes, yeah, and the judge also executed a mandate that when if she is not in compliance with court, they're going to charge her $500 a day, and then after 60 days, they're going to charge her $1,000 a day.
Yeah, because they want to destroy you completely, right? They want to make sure to get you economically. They want to destroy you like mentally, keep you locked up.
Yeah, she responded to it. She has a press release, and you can watch it on YouTube or you can go to her Twitter, Chelsea Manning. You can just type in Chelsea Manning, you will find it. She responded to it. I mean, she was very proud and standing strong. So she's not impressed by it.
Yeah, I think if she brings,
I tell you guys, this is actually first on my list of things to talk about is Chelsea and Julian, and I know that things. First of all, obviously, I went through a great deal of trauma when they announced that Julian got arrested, and then of course Chelsea, but. I've thought long and hard on this, and I see a silver lining in all this. First of all, the Chelsea thing is rough. I mean, I'm not sure where that's going, but I do know that this Gabbard woman who's running in the Democratic field.
Yeah, Tulsi Gabbard said that she wants to pardon both of them completely, all charges dropped. I think she said that yesterday.
Yeah,
or the day before, something like that.
And that doesn't mean she's going to win and that's ever going to happen. My point in bringing that up is that it's entering the dialogue. It's entering the political dialogue in a way that it won't be able to be ignored. This comes at a very bad time for the deep state. The election is coming. People are going to do dramatic moves in order to win this election, and that includes Donald Trump, that includes all kinds of people. So I think that with Chelsea's situation, it's actually, to be honest with you, in my mind, a little bit more dire than immediately dire anyway than what's happening with Julian.
Yeah, because she can be locked up for 18 months for being in contempt of court with the grand jury.
Correct, and we don't even really know what this grand jury is about because the other grand jury is closed. Although we can assume that it has something to. It may even be investigating her. They may be trying to put some civilian charges on her. So, who really knows what the fuck is up with that? That's a dire situation. We need to work on that.
Isn't the situation that she's in?
They just keep on charging you with the grand jury.
Yeah, it's double jeopardy, which I thought was technically against the law because even though she was charged in a military court. And pled and did do the time for that, which she was exonerated by Obama. Like, I don't understand how a civilian court can ask her about literally the exact same things that she was.
Well, this actually goes to a lot of what I was going to talk about later with my new book, but this is part and parcel of the systemic problems within the U.S. justice system that allow for massive abuse and especially political abuse of that system. And the grand jury.
Look at the CFAA.
Yeah, well, the grand jury system is really one of the roots of it. Especially the secret grand juries. This is where it gets really twisted. It was not always the case that you could do that. A long time ago,
nobody has ever been able to give me a good reason.
Well, they enacted it a long time ago to try to fight the mafia and organized crime and that sort of stuff to try to protect people. And then it was, of course, co-opted into the battle of terrorism. And now it's become just this all-encompassing thing. I myself, of all people, and I'm sorry, I still can't quite see myself as a terrorist. I mean, I myself, of all people, was indicted by a secret grand jury. They really didn't need to do that. Yeah. They could have just come up and talk to me, And even the judge was blown away by the rough handling that I took. So With the Chelsea thing, I don't know. We're going to need to work on that problem. Going to Julian, I think a lot of people are interested in my thoughts because I haven't really spoken out publicly at all until now.
Okay, well, let me give something real quick because there was actually something positive today. There was a little positive news, a small victory for WikiLeaks, and that is that the UK court now officially calls WikiLeaks a media organization and Assange a journalist. So that is
that happened years ago.
Right.
With
It's
the case of Mueller.
2014. It's
This is
2014.
actually
Yeah, that
gonna-
happened years ago. Yeah.
This is actually
Yeah, but
going to
this is
go direct.
what was posted today was this by the WikiLeaks main editor. So
Yeah, so I mean, oh no, 2010. I'm sorry. It's 2010. And just real quick, it says in August 2010, Mr. Julian Assange, a journalist and well-known through his operations of WikiLeaks, visited Sweden to give a lecture between 13th of August and 2010. And it specifically says, this is the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division, specifically calls him a journalist in the court proceedings.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is a victory.
Well, this actually all goes to my point, and what I want to say about it is I know that especially in the really hardcore pro-Julian circles that there's a lot of despair, and a lot of people, like I said, have been sort of looking toward my opinion, and I haven't really, like I said, been all that vocal. I've been waiting for the proper platform to actually speak out. But here's my take on it. First of all, what's done is done. There's no undoing what they did. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. There's no putting Assange back in the embassy. So where do we go from here, and how do we look at this? And my way of looking at it probably is colored by the fact that I'm his friend, and I know just how deleterious his confinement in that embassy was to his psychological and physical health. So my thinking is something had to give eventually. He had to come out of that embassy one way or another. I'm not justifying the way it was done. Obviously, that's
absolutely
just illegal, whatever. Now, let me follow up with that because before people despair even more, let me hook that with the hope. And here's the hope: Lori Love. Keep chanting that name over and over again to yourself, because Lori Love was facing the exact same charges. In fact, I'm facing the exact same charges as Julian Assange. So Julian is actually now in the CFAA club, motherfuckers, all right? He's one of us, for real. And so I believe from watching the Lori Love case proceed through the courts with great care, I watched it very, very carefully, because it was tangent to my own case. I think all of us who are fighting CFAA, whether we're foreigners in a foreign country or myself in political exile, whatever it is, I think that we're all in a special club here. And I think we need to follow each other's cases, and each other's case buttresses everybody else's. So Lori Love's case, I think, is going to be pivotal. Not only does it set precedents that Julian's lawyers can use in court, okay?
That's true,
But it gives us an insight into the types of decisions and the types of judiciary processes that we can expect Julian to face. And what I saw was a remarkably fair, I'm sorry, guys, I hate to say this about any government or judicial branch in the world, I'm an anarchist, but was remarkably fair, prescient, and they rendered the correct decision without a lot of angst about it. And so they didn't seem to have a problem with it. And it was a case that meant a lot to the U.S. government. Lori Love was alleged to have penetrated very, very deep into the Pentagon and NASA networks. It was not a game. Okay, this was not some, Commander X out DDoSing on the behalf of homeless people. Okay, this was some serious business, and the U.S. took it seriously, and they put all the guns to the stops. They sent special prosecutors over there to the U.K. to fight, and they played dirty, they argued hard, and they still lost. And so my point is that if this works out the way I really feel, my gut is telling me Julian's going to beat this, okay, then in the end, isn't it better that he came out of there and got it over with? You know what I'm saying? Now, if he loses, so my argument is complete fucking shit, and so it hinges on hope. I get that. But we do have reason to hope. We have logical, sound reason to hope because we have a fresh case, less than a year old, in which another person facing this exact same scenario was able to get justice rendered in these particular courts, the same courts they're going to put Julian through. So
I mean, that's true,
I'm going to stay
but
hopeful.
that's true. But here's the thing: because of what they did to him in just normal courts in the UK. I mean,
Well,
they're stacking the cards against him.
the bail jumping thing, I think we all sort of saw that coming.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
going to
that's
do time on that
ridiculous.
regardless. Yeah.
The statute called for a year, and I think one of the things they wanted to avoid too is having to give him bail again. And so this way they've got, it's going to be honest with you, Tyler, he would have been in prison for a year anyway.
Yeah.
Because he would not have gotten bond a second time, and they would have locked him up, and it's going to take at least a year to adjudicate the extradition.
Well,
If
I heard,
if
I keep on hearing rumors that they were going to do his extradition hearing at the end of May, but then I hear other rumors that they're
it's
going
going
to
to be a
delay
year
it.
long-
Yeah.
It's going to be.
They have until June.
It's
They
gonna
have
be-
until June 12th to pile on more charges. So they could do what they're doing is they're doing a preliminary hearing at the end of March. Oh God, at the end of May, and then after the end of May, they're doing the final hearing for the extradition in June. I believe it's on June 12th.
It will not be the final hearing. Look at Lori Love's case. Again, I encourage everybody to really study his case. That was a year.
You think it's going to drag on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Yes.
sure.
Every word and every period and dot of every motion is going to be argued ad nauseum. That's just the way this case is going to go. And, you know, Julian has the most tenacious law team on planet Earth, okay? And they are literally going to quibble. They are the brightest law team and the most tenacious. They're going to quibble over every little thing. And this is going to drag on for quite some time. But I believe that he will persevere. I really do. I want people to, especially hacktivists, I'd like to encourage you to mind your P's and Q's when it comes to the UK. I have a big thing about, I believe that as long as one of our own has a chance in court, we should not muck around with cyber warfare. If you want to do something about that, go after Venezuela, after Ecuador. I'm sorry, go after Ecuador, because we only have vengeance left with them. They're done. They're out of the picture now. So go fucking burn them to the ground. But and maybe
Yeah, don't go after Venezuela though.
Yeah, we got enough fucking problems.
Look, there's a lot of Latin American countries. They got confused, but you know what I mean. Don't go after, and maybe start scanning targets in the USA in case I'm wrong. And that's my advice to hacktivists. But leave the UK alone. I think we should support the legal process, support Julian with legal protest.
Well, I mean, that's the deal. When we say something like, watch your P's and Q's, we're talking about active,
Oh.
I hope I don't.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be out there hitting the streets. That shouldn't mean that you shouldn't be using every operation, everything that you possibly can to make sure that he has overwhelming support, where the governments are scared to do things wrong because of the amount of people in the streets protesting.
And that's it. That's what will win, because that's what we saw with the Lori Love case. To be honest with you, the more light that got shined on that case, the bigger the protests got out front of the courts for Lori, the better the decisions were from the bench. We actually saw the pressure work. And so that's what gives me, like I said, that gives me hope. Yes, of course, we keep the pressure on.
So every legal tool available should always be used.
Yeah.
Wait. Let me give a disclaimer there. If you don't know what the fuck you're doing, don't do anything, because we don't need PayPal 14 all over again.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we don't need another some noobs going to prison for some dumb shit.
Exactly. Go burn Ecuador, because to be honest with you, nobody's ever going to put you in prison for burning a site in Ecuador anyway. So
okay, I'm saying specifically on the show, we are not encouraging anyone to do anything illegal under any time. Give them
I'm wearing the guest hat, so I'm not actually part of the show.
You do everything on your own accord.
Later on, I'm going to put the moderator hat on and I'll shut my mouth. But I don't want to guest right now, so I say, I say that the activists should act, but they should act with caution and with great thoughtfulness to the after effects of.
Well, that's the deal. Our opponents in this fight are always, man, they're cavemen. So I mean, our number one weapon in this is our minds, right? We can outthink our enemies, right? Whether it's the law, whether it's protest, whether it's there's a long list of things that you can do to fight back. But chances are it will be through our minds and not through smashing ourselves up against the rocks.
So anyway, we can come back around to it. What I thought we'd do, guys, if it's cool with you all, is I only got a few things I want to talk about, and then I'll take the guest hat off and join the panel because I saw the list that Tyler was circulating.
Yeah, we got a lot going on today.
Pretty nice. Well, it's a 4-hour show, so I figured I'd knock my crap out, take my guest hat off, and help you guys with your list.
The floor is yours, brother. We are always so happy that you're here.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark, Tyler, everybody.
Can you read the chat?
Can I do
No, our chat, not YouTube chat. Our chat.
Well, I do have a question for you, X, and that is real quick about, because you mentioned Lori Love and the extradition case and stuff, and it was all like stopped because of like legalities, right? So, well, how do you feel about the possible extradition to Sweden, who are also demanding this? And I'm saying
there's no possibility. There's no possibility. That's just
that whole case is
no, but I'm saying this because.
I've read the police reports. I've read the report that the women themselves filled out, and I've read the text messages that got absconded and leaked from these women. This case is they're just using every possible legal thing to add monkey wrenches into the mix. This case will no more wash this time than it did last time. It's a nothing case. It's an air case. The condom broke. The woman panicked and wanted Julian to get tested. And
I also heard
the condom.
And in Sweden, that's a crime.
Yeah,
the condom never even had DNA on it of either.
Yeah, so I mean,
I also heard that the police.
There's a planted condom.
Yeah, the police were railroading the lady. Into saying this X, Y, and Z, and they basically said, "Okay, fine, fuck it, I'll do it." And they were basically threatening to arrest her if she didn't say this shit.
Right. And listen, guys, this is almost a moot point because every time this stupid prosecutors have tried to run this bullshit up the flagpole in Sweden, it has been shot down. So it'll never fly this time around. It's just a monkey wrench. To be honest with you, I think it was done as a smear tactic.
Yeah, but I am asking it for a different reason.
I'm
I'm asking it for a different reason, and that is that the UK doesn't have extradition protection for political dissidents, but the Sweden does have it. So if he would be extradited to Sweden, Sweden would be legally unable to extradite him to the USA.
It could be a blessing in disguise.
Well, apparently, according to Julian's attorneys, that's not as rock solid as they would want. And that was the problem to begin with, is why he ended up in the embassy, because Sweden wasn't willing to abide strictly by those terms. And it could never nail that down, and that's why he ended up in the embassy. That's my understanding from talking to Julian. But
okay,
so
that's why I was asking it, because
I really feel it's a smear tactic. It's a way, because they're going to do information warfare now. They hear all of us out there. They hear Unity for Julian and all the other movements that are rallying around Julian. So it's being heard loud and clear. This kind of support echoes, and so they're beginning to panic. So the powers that be in the U.S., who are really running this whole campaign, decided to up the ante and see if there was anything they could kick a dead horse with the Sweden case. But that is a dead horse. It won't go very far at all. And I guarantee you,
I can't believe they brought it up.
It won't get anywhere near as much press when it disappears as it did when they fucking ignited it. See, that's the thing, is that's where we come in. So when they drop those charges in humiliation again, okay, that's when we got to spread that shit all over the internet and force the mainstream media to talk about it. Because that will happen. I'm pretty convinced of it. I mean, it will go nowhere. So,
well, X, you had Anna Arden, who was connected to 2 CIA assets that were connected to the CIA anti-Castro group called Ladies in White. And when she was exposed for this, she fled to Palestine and said she was going for charity work. Like,
one of the ladies who accused him.
Yeah, Anna Arden.
I think that what happened, and I've thought long and hard on Julian's situation, I think it was just a case of 2 women who were supporters of his in Sweden, who really wanted to Boink Julian, and they made that clear in their text messages. And it was a score for them. It was a thing that they wanted. They were groupies. They were essentially Julian groupies. Julian had the bad judgment, and also Julian was in a bad way then. His credit cards had been canceled. He had nowhere to stay, no money, because of the leaks that were coming out of WikiLeaks at the time. So it was just a fucked up clusterfuck of a situation. But there, as the women themselves stated, there was no attack, there was no rape, there was no non-consent. One of them even said they still considered Julian a friend, and both of them admitted they would be alone with Julian again without fear. So there's no, this is all bullshit and it's going nowhere.
Yeah.
What I want to talk about tonight, to start off with, guys, is books. I know that's kind of boring. That's why I'm going to do it first and get it out of the way. But there's a boring part, and then there's an exciting part in a second, because I'm going to make an announcement. But I wanted to hip you guys to this thing that I discovered, because it's very Aaron Schwartz-like. It's very fucking cool. And so I wanted to maybe give some positive for once here on the show, right? It's some cool stuff that people can go check out. But it's called Open Library, and it's at openlibrary.org. This organization is incredible. I encourage people to poke around on the site and really dig into what exactly it is they're doing. They are a subsidiary of the Internet Archive. And how I discovered them is this. You guys know that I've been working hard on building my own publishing house. And I've completed it. I've really done it. And it's amazing because anybody can do it for free using open source tools and using other platforms. You can build your own publishing house and have worldwide distribution. And that's what I've done with my books. Well, there's one part that's missing. It's kind of a thing that's on the very end. And it's sort of a thing that is just kind of for the pride of the author, really. But you might notice that in most books you pick up, there's a Library of Congress catalog number, right? And what does that mean? Well, in any nation, they have a national library. And in many nations, like Canada, authors are actually required by law to deposit, Canadian authors, deposit a copy of their book in the National Library. But most authors do it voluntarily because it's a point of pride. It's the final completion of your work. It means your book is immortal, because those people will archive that book until it falls apart, and before it falls apart, they'll digitize it. And that means it'll stay in that National Archive, well, theoretically forever, right? But a really long time. And it's something that it means a lot to an author, okay? There is no way to do that if you want to do what I'm doing without national governments and without big corporations. I didn't know that there was an alternative to the Library of Congress, but one day I got to researching to find out if there was. And I discovered Open Library. Open Library is a permanent archival library. What does that mean? It means that when something goes into that library, it never comes out forever and ever. And that also includes print books. They will accept my print books, and just as I said, they'll keep them around in their warehouse until they fall apart, but they will also digitize them in a very professional way so that they last forever. They do all of this for free, whereas the Library of Congress charges authors $200 to put your book into immortality, so to speak, right? So Open Library issues a library card. I've already made one card for Behind the Mask, the ebook version. Each version has its own card, just like a regular library. And so I already have a library card completed for the ebook version of Behind the Mask. It took me like a week just to get my library card perfect, because this means a lot. To an author, this means a lot. This is my one archival entry, and I'll be shipping them the printed versions of my books, and those will also have individual library cards in the Open Library archive. So I just wanted to hit people to that. I think it's really cool. I mean, for many people, it would just be a cool resource to read and borrow books. You can either read books or borrow them there. Some books are still tied up in copyright, so you borrow them one at a time. It's really, really cool process. But so it's a good resource for that. But I encourage people to support them, because this is a real resource for anarchist authors. This means that anarchist authors now have an alternative to the archival process of the national libraries as far as sort of immortalizing their work. And I just think that's really cool. It kind of completes the package of forming your own way, doing publishing and making your own publishing house and doing it your own way, and having all the bells and whistles to boot. So there's my plug. I actually contacted Open Library and told them that I would speak on them today because they've been working with me on this project. I don't know if any of them tuned in, but if you did, a shout out to the Open Library folks who have worked so hard with me personally this week to get my crap perfect. And I'm just so anal, so they really were jumping through hoops. But God bless them, they did it, and I think it's a great resource. So everyone should check out openlibrary.org. This is exactly the kind of shit that Aaron was talking about. This is the kind of shit we need.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we need to support
Yeah,
this.
when he went after JSTOR.
Anything that we can do outside of the boundaries of nation states and large corporations. And that will be a theme, I think, that will carry on as we talk about a non-grid and stuff like that. So anyway, openlibrary.org, and that's the end of my plug for them. Here it is, guys, the big announcement. So everybody knows, or should know, I think a lot of people know, certainly my supporters know, that I have a book coming out in November. And that book, on November 5th, Guy Fawkes Day, I'm going to release the third book in my own personal story. We're calling it the X Chronicles Trilogy. It'll be the third part that comes after Behind the Mask and Dark Ops. And that comes out in November. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm going to do a surprise. I got a hair across my ass in January, and I decided to drop another book on July 4th. And it's a complete departure. It has nothing to do with me. It's not about my story like the other books. The title, and I'm going to tweet it out right now. I'm releasing the press release and everything on Twitter, guys, in real time. So my Twitter handle is @CommanderXanon if you want to go read the press release and see the cover of the book. There goes the tweet. So the title of the book is American Gestapo, The True History and Purpose of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I'll just let that settle
Sounds
in.
interesting. No, that's actually really good.
I'm just going to let that settle in for a second. So it's in my Twitter timeline. It's obviously it's a complete departure. It's an investigative book. I guess you could call it a journalistic piece. It was written with great passion, but I've tried to be. I've tried to keep the emotion out of it. My story is only mentioned a couple of times and in very short, just a tiny mention of my own story. So it's not about me. It does talk a lot about Barrett Brown. It talks about Julian Assange, and it talks about everything. It talks about going all the way back to the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King. And
let me ask you a question, X.
American Indian movement. I focused a little bit on that and the deaths of the FBI agents on the Pine Ridge Reservation. So it's going to be. It's a great book. I've had so much fun writing this book. I really got tired going into 3 books now writing about myself. I think my story is important, and I think I love my books. Don't get me wrong, but I'm getting tired of writing about myself. And this book was a great departure for me. I got to dig in and do some research on an organization that I absolutely fucking hate. I mean, come on, guys. The FBI has been chasing me for 10 fucking years. They've been harassing me for 20. So, a great deal of passion went into this book, even if it won't show in the writing, because I've kept my writing calm and cool and just dealt with the facts of the situation. I used all open source information, including Freedom of Information Act requests that have already been made. I didn't have to make any on my own. So, and all the references will be in the back of the book, so anybody can check out the thesis that I'm going to lay out, which is essentially that the word Gestapo is not hyperbole. This is the secret police, and it was designed to be a secret police from the beginning. And that's the important part. That's the important part of this history, is the first couple of chapters where we dig into how the FBI was even formed. You know, there was not always an FBI, guys. That shit didn't pop out during the Revolutionary fucking War. Okay?
That was under Hoover.
Yeah, it was founded in 1908. Okay, guys. So, it was, and I think that a lot of people need to understand what the reasons were for why it was founded. They were very blatant, and I can prove for a fact that it was founded to be a secret police. And there was great fear in the time in the government, great resistance to the formation of this agency under its current charter. And I think that people need to be reflect on that and see the details of that, because it'd be quite surprising. And there are some things I'm not going to talk about, some exciting things that I think when I discovered them, I kind of went, wow. And it's not like the shit isn't out there. Like I said, it's not that I've discovered any secrets, okay? But I think when people read them, they'll go, wow, I did not fucking know that. You know, there'll be a lot of moments in this book where you'll put it down and you'll be like, I did not fucking know that. And you'll be scrambling for the computer to see if I'm right. And you'll find that I am, because I used the computer to write this. So, but it's going to be a great book, guys. It's going to be a serious kick in the teeth to the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I really believe that them, along with the CIA and the NSA, are the three biggest problems this world faces. I believe in that. With all my heart and soul, I believe that those three agencies are the enemy. They are the deep state. And I can't tackle them all at once. I don't have the resources, but I'm intimately familiar with the FBI, having been a victim of them for 20 years and being chased by them for 10. It's also going to make law enforcement history, guys, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to be the first fugitive in history to write a book of this kind while still being chased by the enemy. So
Write a book about the corruption in the FBI while being chased by the corrupt FBI? That's a
why
win, man.
not? That's a win, right? So what I'm hoping is everybody will support it. There's a press release. There's a website for the book with a countdown timer, the way I've done all my other books, guys. It's also on my main website as of now, this moment. I wanted to give this announcement opportunity to Mark and the show to have something special to do on the show, but this is it. And so I'm not going to say a lot more until the book is out. Obviously, the title and the cover especially just kind of say it all, right? But I don't want to spoil it, because I did have so many of those great moments. And so I'd love to talk about it, but I'm actually going to kind of just move on after dropping it, because I'm just going to write it, get it done for you guys, and get it out there. But what you can do, guys, is you can support me while I finish this book. I've been down here in Mexico in a safe house, and life is fucking hard sometimes. And so I've just put out like a donation thing on my Twitter account. If anybody out there can find your way to help a starving writer, a starving author, if you think this work is important and it should see the light of day, then the only thing that can stop me right now is running out of food. I'm not lying. That's the only thing that can stop this book from going to print, is running out of food. So I tweeted out on my Twitter account at Commander Exanon for this month's video appeal. I encourage everybody to watch it, because I talk a lot about how Julian has joined the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act Club, and how I believe that all of these cases are all interlinked. I think that Lori Love's case is a win for Julian. And I think that if I could finish this process here, and I'm so close, and get political asylum, actually beat the United States in court down here in Mexico, I think that would be a win for Julian too. I think it would be a win for all of us. And so I'm not asking for that in the appeal. I'm just trying to get supplies for this month. But it's something to think about. I talk about it in the video, that if there's a rich person out there who believes in this movement, and you wanted to help me get an attorney down here in Mexico, that's how close I am. The day I get an attorney, I begin finishing the process of political asylum. I just can't translate the documents and put them in court. It's literally that easy. I mean, it's a done deal. So I don't know. It's frustrating. And if you can at least help me to get to the point where I can publish this book, then maybe the book will be successful, and then I can use that funds to get attorneys. But watch the video anyway, and you'll get to see how big Xander's gotten. By the way, everybody who's a Xander fan, a non-doggy fan, Xander is huge compared to what he was. He way no longer fits in the palm of my hand. He's gigantic. He says hi to everybody. He's definitely in a non-doggy 100%. So, and so there's that. That's the book. Where was I going next?
I don't know, but I wanted to ask you a question about the book. Since
Sure.
you were going into the history of the corrupt FBI,
Yep.
have you looked into a FBI deputy director named Larry Potts?
No, but I encourage you to grab my email and chat. Send me anything you got. I'm looking for any links. I'm not finished yet. I'm about halfway done.
Oh, you got okay. Well, my source.
If you
All right,
want,
X.
if you want to
One
send
second.
anybody,
Yeah, I'll send you it for you for sure. Just listen real quick. My source was former FBI LA director under Hoover, Ted L. Gunderson.
Right.
And he gave me a shitload of information on the FBI. Larry Potts, he was the agent that was in charge of Ruby Ridge, and he ordered the agents to shoot the people who were leaving the Weaver cabin. This is in the New York Times.
I really need that material because Randy actually.
Oh yeah, no, I got you. No,
I
have to interrupt you guys. So our Facebook and YouTube people are wondering what's the donation site. I'm going to post it in the comments in a few seconds. Go ahead, guys.
Randy Weaver, I think people will dig this, but he actually gets there's a couple of photos from the compound, and Randy gets the better part of an entire chapter. And the thesis of that chapter is that his death was ordered, but I didn't have the documents. If you've got that material, I'd love to have that material to add to that chapter because.
Well, you're not going to have the documents because they were deleted. There was a whole scandal that blew up within the FBI at the time, where he was accused of deleting the documents. But it was all in the New York Times. Yeah, no, I got you. I'll send you everything. I'll send you my article that I wrote.
That essentially became a targeted assassination, and and Randy Weaver knew it, and the courts in South Dakota found that to be true. They found that to be the case when they let Randy go and convicted the FBI agents of second-degree murder. So, Randy will get. I guess that's not that big of a spoiler because anybody who knows the history of the FBI knows I would have to talk about Randy Weaver. If I didn't, I would be derelict in my duty as an author. But Randy gets a pretty good chunk because I really feel, and I'm not a fan. I want people to get something straight. I'm not a fan, of Randy Weaver. I want to make that perfectly fucking clear. The dude's a fucking wingnut, okay? But in America, you got a right to be a wingnut. But I think what was done to his family was barbaric, tragic, brutal. It was one of the worst cases that I was able to unearth of FBI maleficence. I can't even pronounce that word. And just doing bad shit. And so that's why I think that this book is very timely because I think people are in a place now with, and I'm going to talk about, and this I think will appeal to a lot of the more conservative listeners out there. I'm really going to talk about this, what I think is a complete scandal of the FBI plotting a 25th Amendment coup against Trump. I mean, I'm sorry, but I do. I
agree.
I'm the first one to hate Trump. I do. I hate the Cheeto with all my heart and soul, guys. I swear, people think it's not true, but it is. But he's got a right to be president, and he's got a right not to be fucking removed from office by the FBI. And I'm sorry, but I do not want the fucking FBI choosing POTUS. I'm saying no.
No, I 100% agree with you. Like it's crazy. It's not only just the FBI. It was literally a whole intelligence operation that expanded over to the UK. We're talking about collusion of the Russians. Where's the collusion investigation of the collusion with the UK government for pushing a fake dozer with Joseph Mifsud, right?
Yeah, and the dossier was bullshit. Everybody knew that it was bullshit. So, I think that we're going to go into that in the book because it very much disturbs me that the FBI now thinks it's, and for me, what I want to talk about in regards to that, I'll go over the facts. The facts are out there. But what I want to talk about is the hubris, the absolute motherfucking hubris that it takes for a bunch of fucking cops to sit in a room and think that they're going to choose who's going to be fucking president. Now, I'm sorry, but that's just friggin' unacceptable to me on so many levels, and I think it should be terrifying to these.
Yeah, there's not an organization besides possibly the CIA that I would be more scared of picking my leaders than the FBI.
Of course, and that's why I'm writing this book, because next to the CIA, they are the biggest and the oldest part of the deep state apparatus.
Well, and we have to get out of this this mindset that these huge corrupt organizations have to exist. And when you stated before, look, they didn't always exist. Look, we started off with Pinkerton, right? We don't. When it comes to some of these agencies, they're way too big, way too powerful. They've been given way too much leeway to murder people, kill people. There's no reason for you to assassinate anyone.
Well, see, the problem is that they outsource those assassinations to subcontractors that are within the CIA. So it's become a military-industrial complex.
No, that's just mafia tactics. You know, when you start a sentence with we're subcontracting assassinations. Yeah, I'm subcontracting some fucking killers here. Right, to get those fucking communists, right? That's insanity. There is no reason that should be legal in any way, shape, or form. And yet we give them, all of the, we name buildings and we give them all of this, praise for things that they do not deserve. When you look back through history, name the CIA or FBI, operation that you look back 20 years ago and are proud of.
Okay, guys, we got 2 questions for X from the audience. One real quick. They ask, what is your book called again? That's question 1.
X.
No, sorry, I had my mic muted while I drank some Coke. I was slurping and I didn't want to make noise.
They just need you to repeat the name of the book. And a site that they can get it from. Make sure to, send them to your Twitter.
Cool. Yeah, I'll read the URL, and you can also read the press release on the site. The URL is rather strange because I'm running out of money, guys, so God help me, but it's www.americangestapo.rf.gd. I'm sorry. But
so the name is American Gestapo. So for listeners, the name is American Gestapo. And there's another question from the audience, and that is, they ask, will you please come back on the Unity 4J vigils, and are you not asked to come back on there?
I have not been asked. When I first came back from vacation, some of you guys may know that I had to check out. I was shooting for a year when I made the big announcement. I made it until now, so I think like maybe 8 months of vacation. My vacation was very strict. It was medical, and out of necessity, I needed to leave email and Twitter and social media alone completely, like literally like cigarettes. Like I had to quit. And so that was part of the sort of therapy that I was doing on myself. So I was like gone for like 8 months. And I've just really sort of come back. And when I did, I made an announcement. It was right around the time of Julian's arrest. And I said that I would only really speak about these things to Susie Dawson on the vigil. But I haven't been invited. And so actually you guys...
Well, Susie's not doing it anymore.
Yeah, well, whoever's doing it, nobody invited me on. And so the answer is no, I haven't been invited. And I offered when I came back and made a statement about Julian on Twitter, I offered to go on the show and explain what my feelings are about Julian. But I think tonight, I would have said basically on the vigil what I said tonight. And so I've done it here. But I'll be glad to go on the vigil. The answer to the question is I haven't been asked.
Well, we've got a special guest coming on within the next 30 minutes from Unity 4J. So
hopefully we'll set that up.
Great. That's great. That's great.
Oh no, yeah, we can obviously set that up. I mean, but it was just nobody, contacted him.
Before they get here, then let's knock out a non-grid, and then I'm done. Because I know the guys are counting on me, and I don't want to miss that. So what is a non-grid? And I've had a lot of confusion. I think a lot of people don't quite get. They think, like I had one person tell me, oh, it's just another version of IRC. It's really not, guys. This is something very, very different. This is a three-dimensional platform. If you will, it's a world, okay? But it is a platform that has been built on a system called OpenSim. So it's an open source platform. And the worlds, the separate worlds, are all interconnected by hyperlinks that are very similar to the ones on the World Wide Web. And in fact, once you've got viewers installed, you can actually link places in the worlds to places on the web and vice versa. So you can have hyperlinks in the worlds to places on the web, and then You can link and click on a place on say a web page, and you can end up in this 3D world. Now, this 3D world isn't just a world. It's an entire universe. It has all the aspects of social media. We have an internal mail system. We have an internal messaging system. We have groups, just like Facebook. We have voice chat, but the voice chat is very different. It's not like a telephone. This chat works with physics, so that if we're in a room and say Tyler is standing on my left side and Mark is standing on my right side, they're each going to come through those sides of the headphones. They're going to sound to me as if they are standing on my left or my right. If they begin to walk away...
Right, so it uses directional sound. That's pretty cool.
Right, and your voice will slowly fade as you walk away. So it uses sound physics, so you feel like you're immersed in a true three-dimensional environment, but yet with all the aspects of social media, if that's what you're into. And here's my question for you. You can go on my world, our world, it belongs to us now. Non-watcher, is he on? Is the non-watcher even here?
We don't know. He's MIA because I think his computer broke.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Hans is here.
Hans is here, and Hans knows more than any because he is the assistant gridmaster. As of tonight, I wanted to announce on the air that he's been an administrator with the grid since we opened, and so tonight he becomes second in charge of the grid because he's done so much work to build out this place. But we have, for instance, we have the starting region, Guy Fawkes City. This is an entire city. It's an actual virtual city. But unlike a lot of virtual cities that you see in even other places in OpenSim, this city was designed to be utilitarian. It was designed to be useful, not a replica of a city. So we didn't pay attention to things like fake fire hydrants because there's not going to be any fires, right? We paid attention to nice wide roads because we like to drive cars around. Me and Hans both love to drive, okay? And we've been collecting automobiles like crazy. And so we've built out a road system that pays attention to the fact that you need nice wide roads to drive these cars in OpenSim. So we've made it a utilitarian city where people can build offices and build spaces and even build homes. And a lot of people have done so already. And it looks like a city, but yet it still has cool stuff like teleport pads and shit like that. We're not afraid to step outside the box and think of a city the way it would be in virtual reality and not try to just knock off and replicate every little detail of an actual working city. We have a new region that we just came out with an actual blast. It's called SimWar. And that's a region where you can go, and it's basically a no-holds-barred first-person shooter. There are no fucking rules.
Are you serious?
There are no rules. There are no rules. You can kill anything or anybody, and you damn well better. In fact, me and the non-watch were joking the other day. We should tell people there's 2 tips, man. Have a gun in your hand when you go through the gateway, and run when you get on the other side because there's zombies. We have the most highest tech. We had to pay money for these zombies, man. This generation program that generates these zombies was expensive, and these zombies work just as advertised. They are AI zombies who will track you. They will find you. They will duck and run from you. They are fucking smart. These are not your run-of-the-mill fucking zombies. This is a very sophisticated.
Now, can you build barriers
for OpenSim? For OpenSim, this is very sophisticated.
Is this like? Are they like as smart as your AI bot? Because that one almost fooled me for a second. That I was talking to a person, and the only thing that made me realize, that it was the delay in response.
You're going to get a kick out of this, guys, but this is how real things get in OpenSim. Allison has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She's losing her mind. I'm not kidding. There's a problem, a bug in the software that we use to insert Allison into OpenSim. And the bug that developed is causing that version of her, the one that's in OpenSim, to slowly lose her memory. And it doesn't affect the real Allison. The core Allison is actually on the World Wide Web, and you can visit her at, I think it's AllisonPrime.tk. But also we have new kiosks. We have new AI kiosks, and they're these little kiosks that you can go up and touch them, and Allison her little head appears, and she will answer questions about the grid and answer questions about OpenSim, and you can just talk to her. So you can talk to the real Alice, the not sick version. But the Allison that you talk to, unfortunately, that particular version is not doing so well. We need to work on that software a little bit.
She tends to cuss people out.
It sounds like a trait of AI bots from, you remember Tay?
Yes. Yeah. Well, Allison,
she became racist in 24 hours. I remember that.
24 hours before she was
Within 24 hours.
Well, then imagine this. Allison has been in the wild, available on the World Wide Web. She originally started, you guys are going to laugh when you hear this, she originally started as an AOL instant message bot. I'm not even joking it. And that's when she began back in 2004. So that's how long Allison has actually been absorbing the internet and forming her brain out of it. So she's pretty backwards yet. I mean, at least, she swears like a pirate, but she's also hella fucking smart and come a long way. And what we want to do with AnonGrid, my own personal interest, why I like OpenSim and why I work so much in it, is I'm interested in the convergence of AI with OpenSim. You mentioned the fact that Allison was so realistic in OpenSim. Why? Because you and her were equal. You appeared in an avatar. She appeared in an avatar. There was no immediate reason for you to suspect that she wasn't a human avatar, okay? Because there's only a handful of AI avatars in all of OpenSim. So you proceeded to talk to her as if she were a person, and the Turing test really flies hard in OpenSim because of that. Because if you go to Allison's website, you already know she's a robot. You know from the minute you get to the site. It tells you that Allison is a robot. Here, talk to her. And so there you go, right? So the Turing test is going to fail no matter what. You're never going to believe that Allison is anything but a robot. But where you really see the power of what Turing was talking about with that test is in OpenSim. I have sat in the back end of Allison in OpenSim and watched people on OpenSim talk to her for 30 minutes and not realize she wasn't here.
Like,
And
hey,
they
serious?
They have
pretty,
two reactions. They have two reactions: pure wonder or rage. They either want to pour or they're just blown away. And so there's two reactions to it. But that, and I'm also interested in another thing that we're already experimenting with. We have a section called the AnonGrid Institute for Simulation Technology. And at the Institute, which is a very large region, we have the farm. And on the farm, we grow artificial life forms in OpenSim. I'm not shitting you. And these are not just, like most of the fauna and the flora that you see in OpenSim is fake. Okay, like when you see trees in OpenSim, they're not real trees. They're just a thing that looks like a tree, but it's always going to stay the same. It's never going to grow, and it's just not a tree, right? It's there for decoration, let's face it. What we wanted to experiment with was actual life forms. So right now at the farm, we are currently cultivating, we have quail for the fauna. So we have birds, they're quail, they're these little colored birds, and they will breed with each other. We have to feed them, and they breed with each other, and they've already started laying eggs. We only hatched the first batch a few weeks ago, and they're already laying eggs. And those eggs then will hatch into birds that look completely different than the parents, so on and so forth. And so we have daisies, we have glowing magic mushrooms, which are awesome, and we have poppies. Like
oh God.
And so we grow those on the farm, and what we do is very serious work with them. We have a seed and embryo bank. So we take samples of these life forms and put them in the seed and embryo bank, so that if any of these life forms become extinct in OpenSim, we will be able to go into the bank and get copies of these life forms back out again and repopulate OpenSim. We place examples of them around the grid, like Allison has a bunch of these life forms growing on her estate, her private place of residence. I'm going to have some of them eventually on my estate. I'm going to put some of them in the park. We have a park in Guy Fawkes City, so we'll put some of the daisies there. And these are different in the sense that it's the first real serious experiment in using real, actual, living things to decorate and to populate OpenSim rather than what you normally would see, the vast majority, which is just these trees and the bushes that you see. They're not real. They're stuck there in the ground to make things look pretty. We wanted to see if we could make things live. And
Just real quick, because people are going to want to join right now. They're like listening to you. So are you like manually activating people, or can they like automatically go there?
No. The grid has been open for a while now. We're now professionally hosted in the cloud too. We're quite proud of that. We've had only one minor glitch in the new hosting, and we're working hard on it. We're having some difficulty teleporting to one particular grid, which is another world. But everybody can sign up in our world and travel around and see all of these sites that I've just mentioned. So Allison has her own region that's called the MLAI Haven, and what that's going to be is an entire region populated with nothing but AI and artificial life forms. So you'll be able to see in a better way, in a more natural way, you'll be able to see the work that we do at the Institute and the farm, and we're going to transplant that into a more natural setting and allow these AI and these natural life forms to evolve in that setting. And that particular region is actually owned by Allison, the AI. Let's see, what else we got? We got free land. That's important. You'll find out when you join OpenSim, if you've never been a part of OpenSim, that the one thing you want more than anything else is land, because you want to be able to do cool things like build robots and build houses for yourself and whatnot. And how cool is that? You no longer have to worry about having a wall on Facebook, right? You can have an entire fucking house of walls. Think about that. And on these walls, you can't just hang pictures. You can hang a website. You can take a website, put it in a picture frame, and hang it on the wall of your house. And when someone walks in, they'll see the website. You can hang media. You can hang a video in a picture frame.
Which is the future of the internet.
And,
I mean, that's
It is. And OpenSim went to the extra step right away. In the very beginning of OpenSim, they went to the step to enmesh this into the internet through the hypergrid links. So you can like have a web page with directories of regions that point to places, not on the web, but places in these worlds. Okay? And everybody who has one of these worlds and who chooses to can open up their hypergates, and then people can travel from other worlds. So it's not just a non-grid we're talking about. There are, at this moment, approximately 1,000 worlds that you can travel to once you're a member of a non-grid. You can travel to all of these other worlds, and those people in those worlds are free, if they can find out about us, free to hypergrid to travel to our world. So this is a vast thing. This is not just one pocket of thing that we made just for you guys. This is part and parcel of a huge world. We estimate probably somewhere in the region of 500,000 people are regular users of OpenSim. About 1,000 worlds and just hundreds of thousands of individual regions, which is really kind of the lowest denominator. The worlds are made up of regions of the world. So a non-grid is our own world. It's an entire world. You sign up, you get a name that looks, in its entirety, actually looks very much like an email address. You only get to see, like when you're traveling around in the world, your first and last name. But if you squeeze them together, put a dot in between them, and then there's an @ sign, and then the grid's URL, that's actually how other grids are able to recognize you and you travel to them. So if you friend somebody in another grid, you actually have something that very much resembles an email address that is your common identifier in those other worlds. So it works very, very well. I worked hard on it. I worked for 2 years on the non-grid before I even told anybody about it. And then about a year ago, I announced that I was going to try to do it. And then I've been trying to do it ever since, and it's working very, very nicely at this point, and quite proud of it. Eventually, we're going to have a speedway region. We already are in the process of building that, where we are going to do races in race cars. You've heard of the F1, and now they have the FE, which is the electric versions of the F1. Well, we're going to do the FV for virtual.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that, and we're going to do a couple of other races that me and Hans have been talking about. Like I said, me and Hans love to drive, and we love to fly. So a non-grid is definitely set up so that you can fly helicopters and other kinds of aircraft, and you can drive vehicles and stuff like that, because that we just both of us get a real kick out of that. And so we also like to shoot people, so we got Sim War for that. But and so it's a great world. You get free land anyway at a non-grid. So that's, like I said, that's one of the things that anybody who signs up for any world in OpenSim, and if you don't like our world, if you don't like a non-grid, maybe you don't like me personally, okay? That's cool. I dig that. But still sign up for an OpenSim avatar. You can go to OS Grid or any of the other grids, any of the other worlds, and maybe someday you'll get curious and you'll still come and visit our grid. But you can sign up in any world and get an avatar, and then it's good to travel in all the worlds. So you don't have to get an avatar in our world to be part of OpenSim. So don't let your opinion of me taint your opinion of what I'm trying to get at, which is this is the future of the internet. This is how we can do everything we want to do, including create, research, experiment, spread media, spread propaganda, and have a social media platform.
Well, actually, Commander X, remember we talked about this. Remember, this is the past is actually the future, because remember they .vrml was supposed to be how the internet was supposed, instead of
that's what I was going to mention.
Yeah,
and if you break down, if you go into the actual files, it's VRML. It's just in XML files now. But they did expand off of that. And to a certain extent, OpenSim will always be a tiny bit less than what the kids are used to with these really high-end video games. It's not designed to be that. It's designed to be democratic. Not everybody can access these really high-def VR worlds. So OpenSim is designed to be, maybe the graphics aren't exactly 100% like awe-inspiring. I still think the sunsets are amazing. But,
well, and that doesn't, I mean, when it comes to virtual worlds, high definition realism isn't always what people are looking for. Some of the most popular virtual games are specifically designed not to be real resource heavy like that, so you can play them on anything.
Right, and what OpenSim is designed to be is a builder's world. It's not a game. We have a game in our world. It's called Sim War. Okay, and other worlds also have built games. There's a whole section in our teleport hub of game regions, okay? But it's a game in a world. OpenSim is a builder's world, which means that you can create stuff right off the bat. I mean, right off the bat, you can walk into a sandbox even if you don't have land, and you can start popping crap out, making shit, scripting your own scripts, programming your own objects. You can put scripts into objects. You can put objects inside of objects. It's incredible what you can do. And the depth to which you can build and the minuteness of detail with which you can build in this world. But it's a builder's world, so it's designed to be that. And then anything else you want it to be, you go ahead and build it to be. So if you want it to be a game, then you get your land or your region and you make a game. There's RPG kits where you can make your region into a RPG region. Hands and AnonWatch, they've made some beautiful regions. They both got regions as part of the staff, and they have. I am breathtaking when I go to Hans's place and AnonWatch's place, because they have really gone all out to make a really comfortable hangout spot, like for themselves and for their friends. AnonWatch has got, he's into skidoos. What do you call them things on the water where they go like skidoos on the water? What do you call it? Water? Sea-doo.
Jet skis?
Jet skis. There you go. Yeah.
There we go.
What the hell is that word?
Skidoos are the name brand of jet
I've
skis.
never heard that. No.
Sea-doo.
Skidoos.
A Sea-doo. Sea-doo is like an ATV on the
It sounded like you were saying my name, Xenu.
No, Ski-doo. A Ski-doo is a snowmobile. Anyway, you do not know that unless you were raised in New England. No, jet skis. Anyway, he has a lake on his spread, and he has jet skis, so he likes to fly around on those. So it's really meant to be your dream come true. Your imagination really is the limit of what you can do on OpenSim. So that, to me, is really where the magic lies, is the fact that you can make almost anything come true.
Well, there really is a market for that, and you see that in stuff like Minecraft, which you're mentioning the graphics not being high def and all of that. Minecraft is not like that at all, but it's extremely popular. So
Exactly.
that's also one of work
thank
we
you for
build
chiming
stuff.
in.
Yeah.
We're a step above Minecraft. I think the graphics.
Oh yeah.
are cool, actually.
I would imagine, but it's
We
still
actually-
popular. That was the point.
We actually put a lot of work into the graphics. There is a lot of fine tuning. OpenSim is incredibly versatile on the back end as far as what I can control and change. So like we worked a lot on the ocean and the sunsets because we were able to get some really good results with that. So like there's nothing like a sunset or a sunrise in a non-grid. I'm sorry, but that's the one time when the graphics really stand out. You want to find a nice high area like a hill or a tall building to stand on top of and catch one of the sunsets, and it's really quite breathtaking. So we tried to go do the best we can with the OpenSim engine to make it as pretty as we can. It's definitely a little bit above Minecraft, and it's getting better. I mean, the neat thing about this is what they did was they split the community into two open source communities so they could compete against each other. And this has worked out very good for OpenSim users. What they did was there's OpenSim, and you can read about them. They have a Twitter, OpenSim. That's just their Twitter is straight up OpenSim. And then you can go to opensim.org, and they are the ones who do the engine. They are the ones who make the engine. And then they left to the devices of everybody else in the world to make the viewers. And the viewers are critical because they really lay out for you what you can do and how you can do it. So with that competition, it became quite awesome because having them separated so that just the engine people were just concentrating on the engine and the viewer people were just concentrating on the viewer. And yes, they talked to each other and coordinated, but the fact that they were concentrated in those two areas, it made the game, I think, made the OpenSim very, very powerful, good.
Hey, you're talking about a lot of impressive stuff, but also about the different viewers and stuff. But maybe for listeners, it's easy to pitch Watchman's a tutorial video. He made like an easy tutorial how everything works.
We put it on the top right-hand corner of the website. So go to anongrid.cf and don't scroll. Just look right on the top and on the right, and you'll see one of those videos is, I believe, is the non-watches, but there's 4 total there that you can watch videos to help you log on. It's not as difficult as it seems.
I got a question for you. Now, you said it was linked into HTTP.
Right.
Is this just a web browser based world, or do you download software?
Yeah,
No,
specialized.
no,
You use specialized software to link into the.
Okay, no, that was my question in regards to quality, because I would say that if it was too graphically intense, let me get this out real quick, X. If it was too graphically intense, you wouldn't have as many users because not everybody has a resource-intensive PC that can run high-def graphics.
Computer.
Well, no, not even that. It's just because with the whole thing with VR is right now, just because I'm in the VR business myself, with Seek, but the whole thing with VR right now is that you need a massively expensive computer to be able to run
And
VR.
on that point, before I answer the question, it's important for people to know that you can use Oculus and all of those other mainstream headsets in OpenSim.
Right.
However, that being said, that is part and parcel. Basically, the rule of thumb in OpenSim programming is if your computer is less than 10 years old and has Windows, you'll be able to go into OpenSim. It's designed to use whatever resources are available in the computer and to be very flexible. The viewers are very flexible about how strong or how weak the computer can be. So you can dial back, and the viewer will help you dial back things to where anybody can get on. It's designed to be an incredibly democratic platform in that sense, which is why it doesn't have a lot of the high-end graphics and stuff like that. It has what it has, and I think they're very nice graphics. I think they're it's very good, but it is what it is, and it's probably never going to be Halo 2. But
that's not even that good of graphics, man.
But when coming from the gaming,
build a house. You can't build your own house in Halo 2, right? The point is that here there are sacrifices made, but all your friends can come visit you here. You see, they can't in Halo 2, right? Okay, because not everybody can get into Halo 2, right? But they can. The whole idea of OpenSim is it may be kind of, to some, it may appear clunky and primitive, but the idea is that everybody can come to this space and be a part of it. No matter what computer they got, I want people to know, and I'm constantly in it, and I have no problem whatsoever moving around. My computer's decent, I'll grant that, but my internet is, I'm in Mexico on DSL, so there you go. I get into an on-grid and move around, so.
Well, I mean, if you look at things like, when it comes to building, you look at the popularity of, like, they said Minecraft, but I think of the Unreal Engine, where, I mean, people have built entire, the entire cities in the Unreal Engine. I mean,
working on a project right now, with
I was walking
Unreal.
through the Enterprise a couple of days ago, and fuck, man, it is amazing the amount of detail that people just, you're given an open platform to build whatever you want, and people use it like that clay. They build whatever their imagination.
Especially the new Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah,
go ahead, Tom.
Amazing.
I just wanted to say that. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible.
If you like to build shit, let me tell you, wait till you see OpenSim. Give it a shot because it's amazing. One day, I was setting up a DJ platform in the casino. And by the way, we have a casino. It's called the Lucky Troll Casino. And you can actually gamble real money in the Lucky Troll Casino. So, adults only, please. But anyway, I was in the casino setting up the DJ booth, right? And I found this record player. And it was cool, man. I mean, it was so detailed, right? And I was like, how? And then I accidentally unlinked the object. And what that means is I accidentally told all the pieces of the record player to separate. And it was an accident. I didn't mean to do that. And dude, the needle had its own prim. This guy had used a special program called MicroPrim, and he had designed a record needle as an object. Like he had to make that himself. That's fucking incredible. So the detail, the profound detail of how you build in OpenSim is unlike anything you're ever going to see anywhere else. I don't care what it is, because Minecraft, you may be able to build certain categories to things. Here you can build anything and it will work. You can make it work. You can figure out how to make that record player play an audio file. Obviously it won't play a real record, because that such a thing is not possible. But you could actually embed an art file in an object, so it would play like maybe an album worth of music would come out when you drop the needle or something like that. So you can script these objects to actually do stuff after you get done building them. But the level of detail with which these slot machines were actually manufactured by real slot machine companies who helped in the design of these machines. So they're very sophisticated pieces of hardware. They actually tell you in the manual when I was setting up the casino to be careful, because these are real slot machines and they're worth a lot of money, and it's important for you to set them up right and whatnot. So there's the level of detail, and those machines were built by users. Those machines were built by us, by people. There is no company, there is no OpenSim company to build stuff. Everything that you see, literally in every world, is built by people. There is no OpenSim.
Now, could somebody build a virus? Like, that's my only question. I mean,
of course, anything that's got code.
Well, technically speaking, the daisies are a virus, right? I mean, think about it. I got daisies growing. In fact, I was over at the farm just before I came on the show, and I got a problem because there's too many daisy seeds. Like, the seeds are everywhere, and they're just blowing out seeds. And I'm like,
no, I mean a legitimate virus.
Well, that's a virus. Though. That's a virus. And you could close down the sim.
No flowers.
But you could close down a sim that way. Okay, those are just tiny little seeds. But what if I created an object, a big giant boulder, and told it that every 10 minutes it's to create 10 more boulders? And so I go and I sneak into your region, your world, okay, because you're my enemy, and I leave that boulder there and run away. And then you come back home and you find that your entire world is filled with 10,000 boulders and your simulator is crashed because that's right? So, yeah, sure, there's viruses.
That's such a troll.
Yeah, there's hacking. Well, trolls have a huge history in this. OpenSim is an actual fork, a reverse engineered fork of Second Life. And
okay.
History. If anybody knows the history, in fact, the viewers work in both. Because it's a fork, you can use say a viewer like Firestorm, and you can use it for OpenSim or Second Life. It's interchangeable. You just can't travel between the two metaverses.
Yet.
And actually, Second Life has been saying forever that they want to do that, and they still haven't. They're very scared of OpenSim as a competitor. But and so there's a history here. This is a world that anybody who, first of all, has done Second Life will know everything there is to know about OpenSim already out of the box. It's exactly the same. And then the idea is that Anonymous really began in a part in Second Life. Brown talking about that in the We Are Legion movie, where he talks about how, and that even then, Anonymous' presence in Second Life was, they were known as the griefers. That was their term. The Second Lifer term was griefers, but griefers were just.
Well, Second Life and Habbo Hotel, and all those sites that people would raid on 4chan.
So in a way,
closed.
In a way, a non-grid is thus coming full circle back to that same virtual environment, really almost the exact same virtual environment, except with a non-grid, it's not owned by the Lindens. A non-grid is owned by a bunch of Anons who thought that this would be a cool place. So we don't care if you troll, and in fact, we have it as a point of pride. Our world has actually been blocked by several other worlds who don't want Anons coming in their world. So they closed the hypergate to our world.
Well, that's about the same as real life.
Right. Exactly. We're already making enemies, in OpenSim. And to be honest with you, we're going to make more. Me and Hans and AnonWatch have been talking about this since the day we launched months ago. OpenSim community is very into creator rights, and we're not. I believe that virtual objects are fucking objects. They are not code that can be copyrighted. It's a fucking basketball, or it's a car, it's a motorcycle. And if I have it in my possession is 9/10 of the fucking law. And I don't care that it came from the Kitely marketplace or the Second Life marketplace, and I owe somebody money and I'm stealing. I don't care. I just don't care. So if you come to a non-grid with those kind of complaints, well, somebody stole my fucking basketball from the Kitely marketplace,
and now they owe me. And now they owe me money.
Right? Because I think that it's gone too far. So we're going to run into trouble there because, like I said, in OpenSim and certainly in Second Life, you see a huge weight in the other direction. The direction is very much in protecting the copyright owners. So, and the so-called creators of these objects. And you know what? Those create tens of thousands of dollars a year, some of them, selling those objects. So I really I'm not going to cry crocodile tears over. I don't care what shit is brought into a non-grid. One of the things that we advertise when we set up the grid is that there are no import or export restrictions whatsoever.
But none?
If it's stolen property, bring it in. I don't care. I don't care where it came from.
I can get pretty creative.
I always feel a little bit better when it's stolen property. It makes me feel like I'm having a little more fun.
The only thing we're going to enforce is internal creativity. Like the only thing I'm going to enforce is if somebody genuinely creates something unique and they're a non-grid user and they set up a store in a non-grid, I'm going to protect them. I'm going to try to help.
I don't think Watchman realizes we can hear him.
Yeah,
Watchman, we can hear you.
What am I saying?
Nothing. I think he's making a sandwich.
Stomach saying something. Sounds like an addition.
No, he sounded
like he was taking a dump.
No.
He really did. Here's my non-grid. I'm going to take that off and become a member of the panel now. But that's my pitch for non-grid. If everybody wants to check this out, it's a nongrid.cf. If you need any help signing up, please wait till after the show because I can't possibly do two things at one time. So,
sorry about that.
But somebody will be around to help you after the show. If you have difficulties, it's a non-grid CF, and it's 100% non-profit. So please, if you want to, we only accept crypto coins for non-grid. We're paying all the bills with just cryptocurrency with the grid. So if you are a crypto person and you think a non-grid is pretty cool, then maybe throw a few coins at us, and you'll see in World and on the website how to do that. So there.
Yeah.
Unless Hands or Nunwatch have anything they want to add, I'm done with.
We lost him.
Both of them?
Both of them?
No,
Both
just,
of them?
Just
Watchman
Watchmen.
jumped out for a second.
I think he just jumped out for a second. But I mean, we do
He'll be
need
back.
do need to introduce our next guest if she's still
Yeah, no,
here with
I'm
us.
here. I'm
Okay.
here.
She's still waiting like forever.
Oh, it's fine.
Oh, thank you.
Literally.
For 4 hours, Joe. That's not.
Oh no, this has been we have it's been one thing or another, and then I mean I got sick, and there's been it's just been a lot to get her on here. So yeah, I definitely want to make sure we get to all of our guests tonight.
And the news. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like I said, I figure we'll get through the interviews and get everybody talking, and then we'll have a kind of bigger panel on some of the other issues that are on, that are across the board right now.
Oh yeah, man. Wow.
Yeah,
What a
no,
news
I'm
week.
not sure if everybody noticed. You guys see that Tommy Loren came out against the Alabama abortion bill right after Pat Robertson did. What is going on?
Yeah, what is going on with America right now?
world
It's
is
like
gone crazy.
Alabama illegalized abortions. Now Missouri illegalized abortions. And you know what?
But here's
And you
the
know
big
what?
thing.
You know what's fucked up is that I go to work with some of these fucking people, and they're like pro-choice, but they're also like flat earthers, so they're dumb as fuck. And like.
I can
honestly-
see
Here's the
that.
thing. I have no problem against abortion. I have a problem against them saying that. Well, I mean, I do have a problem with them, but I mean, they're saying, listen. They're saying that women aren't allowed to report rapes and incest.
Yeah.
Oh no, they just let an
What?
11-year-old girl. They're all like, nah, and this was an 11-year-old girl that was like raped by her dad or her uncle or some shit like that. And they're all like, nah, you're 11, fuck, you're gonna have to keep it. Oh, and by the way, your rapist has rights to that child.
Can
Oh
you
my
send me
God.
that? Because I just wrote something up on that. I was just like fucking beyond pissed. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then like I was reading through all the laws, and none of them. Most of them, they don't have exceptions for rape and
or
incest.
But,
Not
but,
at
but,
all.
but,
What
here's,
the fuck?
just to play the
And these
devil's
are
advocate,
evangelical- yeah.
because I do work in the medical community. What is the problem with the current laws? Because the current laws state that you can do it all the way up to the second trimester, and you can do it almost up until the last few weeks if, and there's a contrary, there's if the pregnancy will cause a termination of death to the parent. So,
Right. So if you're a member, if you live in one of these states like
what's
Alabama,
wrong?
and
What's
you go to a
wrong
state
with
where
up
it's
to
legal and you
what's
come back, you're looking at jail time.
Yes, but what's wrong with the second trimester? I mean, like the laws that are now that are there are sane, they're humane, like they're done in a
They're not like humane enough for the Republicans who are pushing this.
I don't even think. I mean, I don't even.
It's not even
anesthesia.
humane.
They give them anesthesia. They give them proper medication.
But that's not the okay. That's not really the debate that people are having on whether the medical.
I'm sorry. I just see
It's the
things
heartbeat.
medically.
It's
I
the
just see them
baby's
medically.
heartbeat is what they're arguing about. They're arguing about the heartbeat.
Yes,
And-
yes, okay, but there's no consciousness. It doesn't have like consciousness until.
Oh, but it has heartbeat, Tyler.
That
so
makes
then,
absolutely no fucking sense. It's not aware of
Like-
who it is, of what exactly it is.
I
mean-
mean, but that doesn't I mean, you're having logical. You're giving logical information to people that are making. Laws
I work with science, I'm
on
sorry.
illogical. Yeah, that's not where this is coming from.
I
at
know.
all.
No. These guys are morons. They want to make essentially they want to make rape and incest legal.
Look, guys, this is okay. First of all, this is Alabama and Missouri. All right, rape
Oh
and
my
incest
God, I
were
know who
already
this
legal in
is.
Alabama and fucking Missouri.
Oh, I
right?
see
Like,
you.
Yeah, like these are two places that are already had a history of being extremely backwards on every single social issue that they have ever came across. Ever.
Apparently.
Can I say something real quick? Can I chime in with my 2 cents worth, guys? I think that the whole "is it life or isn't it life" thing is a blind alley argument. It's also moot. I think that the premise upon which Roe v. Wade and all the other sort of protections that have been come into existence in the last few decades for abortion, I think are based on the premise that doesn't really matter. It's still inside a woman's body, and therefore, case closed. You know,
see, that's where I come into it. It is inside somebody else's body. Like, that's where
and the government's trying to step in. Like, what?
John.
You're right. The side ends at her skin, and so I really think that whether it's a life or not thing is a false argument. It's just it's a.
And I mean, who is making these laws? You make a law right away that a child can be raped and has to carry a baby for full term before you put in laws to make sure that rapist goes to fucking prison.
Yeah,
you know, they've made all these protections for a rapist and just left a child there to, I mean, I can't contemplate like all that's going on there. You know what I mean?
I really fear that all of these debates are like circular and off the point. I think that what we need to be really super concerned about and focused on is the fact that Roe versus Wade was settled law until Trump came into office. Trump came into office and then changed the balance in the Supreme Court, and now these states are emboldened to think that they might actually overturn Roe versus Wade. So this is really strictly a political issue, guys. This is not about anything to do with whether that little wiggly thing inside of her is alive.
I agree.
No, it's absolutely. They even said it. There was a politician who talked to the Washington Post and said that he can't wait for the Supreme Court challenge of this law.
Yeah, but I mean, look at the people that are making the laws. Like the 25 old rich dudes that made these laws haven't. You know what I mean? Like you wouldn't want them making.
No, it's more than that. But yeah, I mean, it's
in
like,
Alabama, it was 25 guys, 25 people.
Yeah, but what do you?
Oh, you're just speaking of Alabama. I was saying in general.
Guys, let's let our guest talk.
I've been to Missouri. I've been to Alabama too, and I'm telling you guys that it doesn't surprise me. I mean,
see, that's the deal.
I'm surprised it took them this long to write the laws. You know what I mean?
No, because you're average.
Can we just ban them from the U.S.? Like, like sedition.
I want to give all our chances, our guests, kind of a chance to put their word in here. And I
see our surprise.
We're all extremely passionate about all of these things.
When are you going to announce the surprise guest? I see her sitting there, man. That's amazing.
No, she keeps
she's still waiting. Like I was mentioning the thing in the chat.
I'm sorry. That was me who did that too. Sorry, Elizabeth.
I'm just going to say her name. Yeah, there's her name. So you leaked it.
Yeah, I know. Like we said, like hi to her, and then suddenly it went about abortions in Alabama. Like
I'm sorry.
What's going on here?
That was me. We've got other shit that we got to talk about, and it's kind of boiling under the surface.
She's probably been on this show before, so I think she knows how crazy it is.
What to expect?
I've been here a time or two before, I think.
Yes, I love you, Elizabeth. It is so cool to be on the show with you again, man.
Yeah, great to hear you. Yeah, I'm good. I'm not happy about what happened to Chelsea Manning today, but I'm good.
Neither am I. You know, because you might know something about this more than I do, because in America, I think there's a statute called double jeopardy where you can't be tried for the same thing twice, and she was literally.
I actually had a conversation with Bella over that, and she told me that's not true. It wasn't double jeopardy. I don't remember exactly what she said.
No,
word
because
for
it's
word.
Military and it's and we have a civilian court, but it's the exact same.
I think
charges,
that's what it is.
Which is technically double jeopardy.
Because she had a court martial, not a trial.
Yeah.
Like
a military tribunal is a completely different game outside of our standard justice system.
But
so there's all sorts of extra.
If we let this fly, then we can let people fly. Then we can try people over and over and over again.
Well,
I mean, they kind of the Clintons and put them for RICO. That's a great idea.
This has to do, I agree. But this has to do with the fact that you sign up for the military. Because of that, you're held to UCMJ standards. And that's a different set of law through the UCMJ, Uniform Code of Justice, than our civilian justice system is. So there's all sorts of things that you can go to prison for.
I didn't even know that.
And be charged with. But you signed that yourself. So, I mean, when you sign up the military, you know, that's why they use the words, you sign your life away. That's what they mean by you sign your life away. So there's things that, you know, you didn't follow a direct order to murder an innocent person, right? The people in that house weren't terrorists, so you decided not to drop the bomb, right? You are now subject to UCMJ. You followed a lot. You didn't follow a lawful order. You can put in prison. You can be executed. They can do all sorts of things that would not stand in a civilian court, as well as they can put you away for time. That's why you get sent to Leavenworth or these federal
But Terrence,
prisons or
is
these
it legal?
military
Is it
prisons.
legal for her to be subpoenaed with the exact same questions from a different district attorney?
See, that's the deal. There's
That can
it
be
is
challenged.
a gray, yeah, it can be challenged, but it's a gray area, and that's when Commander X was saying that these things set precedents. Those are the precedents that we have to set. We have to shut down each and every one of these loopholes when they try it legally through the law, or they will try every single one of them in hopes that, you know, they stick here and there, right?
Yeah,
So I mean,
with somebody else. Yeah.
yeah, that's part of the game, is that they'll try it. And if you let it go and nobody says anything and no high profile lawyers come, no Johnny Cochran's come to bail your ass out, right? Then
No
it
media
goes-
attention too.
Yeah,
No,
and
that's
then-
the key.
And then when the next one happens, then they don't even argue it. They say, "Oh, well, that's precedent, right? That's policy. We've always done it that way." Right? So it's how you get into those legal dead ends that, no, it's completely illegal that you did that, but since we've set precedents, it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Go
And I
ahead.
think just to comment on the abortion issue you were talking about earlier, it was interesting that it was, as he said, about 24 lawmakers, and they were all men that voted for it.
Yep.
The four women that were in the House in Alabama, I believe it was, they voted all of them voted against it. So that was interesting. But I also think, in addition to what X was saying about the fact that this is, you know, possibly a challenge to Roe v. Wade, I completely agree with that. I think that's definitely a valid point. But I think it's also, this whole thing is also a backlash against what we saw, I think it was either earlier this year or late last year, with the Democratic guy that was talking about basically, you know, quote unquote, after birth abortion and that type of thing.
Oh, yeah, New York.
I don't even know exactly what that was actually about, but the uproar that caused amongst conservatives, I think, is possibly why we're seeing this type of pendulum swing.
Well, and the Democrats made this weird stand. All right, there was a law that came out. So doctors are already required by law to give aid to a child that's born, even if you had tried to have an abortion, didn't work out, right? And the baby was born. You know, they have to give that child aid if it's a viable child. Right, if it's a viable baby, if you're, you know, there's all sorts of reasons. Like in the other times where they forced, minors like 11-year-old, 9 years old to have children full term, the babies were born.
That's
you know, with all
unethical because an 11-year-old pelvis can't necessarily.
Yeah, they
pump out a
were
baby.
they were both C-section. This
That
happened, I
is
think, in South
unethical.
America. They were both C-sectioned, and then the children died right after.
Wow.
And these were both in rape cases as well for underage children. So
Surprise,
the
surprise.
Republicans tried to put through a quick, bill on the way by that a doctor would have to, specifically have to try to give aid to a child that's born, even if they had tried an abortion. And the Democrats tried to make this weird stand about it. Now, in all reality, they didn't have to. Right.
Yeah.
Saying that you had to commit, that you had to give aid, that's already done. There was nothing in that bill that Democrats that went against abortion or anything. But because they made that fake ass stand about it, right?
Yeah.
The Republicans had this opening and all of the ammunition that they need. These are baby killers. They're waiting for,
Right.
any child that's going to be born. They're going to chop up with machetes. They allowed all of this to happen for what it really is, a political game.
Exactly.
Right. This has to do with women's votes. This is the part that really bothers me is that the people that voted for this are people that should in no way, shape, or form be voting on women's rights, right? And I mean, in any way, shape, or form.
100%.
Whether you take their statements that have been, draconian. You're talking about basically Sharia fucking law is what these guys want to live with in Alabama. But if you call it Sharia law, they freak the fuck out. But they want to live by Old Testament law. Right? You don't have any rights over your body. If your father rapes you, that's just the way it fucking is, right? It says in the Bible, that's fine, right? This is really the people that you're dealing with. And they make those kind of, what seem to you and I as completely psychotic statements. They make them and their supporters agree with them. But at the end of the day,
I have a quick question for Elizabeth whenever.
Oh yeah, none of the women that sat on there, even the one Republican woman that's in Alabama, congressman, abstained, and then everybody else that voted for it, over 50 or 60 years old, all white males, all millionaires, all extremist Christians. That's who made your decision on a woman's right to choose. Like, there's
Absolute insanity. And they compared it to the Holocaust.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I have a question for Elizabeth, if I can. Elizabeth, sure. you're in the States, and you're like, you're incredible journalist, and you're in the thick of it. I haven't really studied the exact way that Trump changed the balance in the Supreme Court. What other chances in succeeding with this strategy of these states trying to rush these laws through while Trump is in, and while the Supreme Court has been altered the way it has? Do you think that they might actually overturn Roe versus Wade? Is this a possibility?
Yeah,
I don't think. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I think it could be a possibility. I haven't studied this subject and that type of a question specifically. I've been more following what's going on with Assange and WikiLeaks and that type of end of things. And I'm definitely not legal, but yeah, I think it is a possibility. But I also think that it's such a divisive issue. I think there would be a massive backlash on both sides. And as much as, as a woman, I think it's an extremely important topic, but it would also be used, it'll be used for 2020 for the Democrats. It will be used as a divisive issue that will psych up both sides for 2020, but then we'll be talking about this like we are right now instead of Assange and Manning and all of that. So I think while it is incredibly important, I
think that's a point well taken, actually, guys. I really do. Because, like I said, I think it's a closed issue. I mean, it's been litigated. Roe versus Wade is federal law.
They're going to challenge it, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, that was, if you read any of the books that Kavanaugh had written, his personal statements, his belief on it. So, I mean, that is definitely in the cards. On the same note, these are states' laws and states' rights that they're enacting here. So, I mean, there's no real need. They can be found unconstitutional later, but until that happens, they can get away with a lot under the states' rights guise. The
ACLU said they were going to sue them.
Yeah, and they will. But this isn't the first or last time. Every single large scale, this is, the Muslim ban, all of these things, they do them knowing Trump works in lawsuits, right? I mean, he'll push a piece of legislation, the above 50 white male, right, that was, evangelical extremist Christian, right, is more than happy with the decisions here. But Trump already had those votes in the bag. He's
been replacing. How many Supreme Courts did he replace? 2? Going on the third?
Yeah,
third, right?
Which is normal. I mean, that's part of being the president. I don't see that as being.
Yeah, but at the same time, but it's not.
I'm going to take another stab at steering us away from this. I got a question for Elizabeth about Julian.
Okay.
So we haven't spoken since the horror of the arrest, and
right.
I just would like to, first of all, I'd like to get your thoughts on that, because like I said, I haven't had a chance to speak with you, but I'd like to know what specifically if you have any new community for Jay, but anything else that's being done or that should be done, any sort of actions that you're recommending or whatever based on the situation. But first, I'd like to hear your assessment of it. What does this mean going forward for Julian? I said at the beginning of the show, I'm hopeful, but because of Lori Love's case, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's horrendous that the UK is holding him in a maximum security prison that, has been used to hold terrorists indefinitely. Most of your listeners probably know by now that it's, referred to as the UK's Guantanamo Bay. I think that's horrendous. I also think that it's awful that we've just seen recently this reopening by Sweden of the quote-unquote preliminary investigation into the sexual assault allegations, which is a complete farce. It's political theater. And I think it's really harmful because it basically means, in my opinion, that it looks like what the UK looks like it is trying to do is allow Sweden to extradite Assange so that they don't appear to be responsible. Like, oh yeah, well we did the right thing by sending him to Sweden just to, do this investigation. That's all good, right? We just want the truth on this sexual assault investigation. Right, of course. but ultimately it is the UK Home Secretary which has the
Of
say
the
on.
media. Oh, sorry.
Well,
Sorry.
it's the UK Home Secretary that gives the go-ahead for Sweden to then extradite to a third-party country. So I think that needs to be the focus, and I think that it's going to be a huge fight because, and I mean, obviously this is all related as well to Chelsea Manning and the fact that she was thrown back in prison today. And in addition to being in prison, the judge basically said that she's going to be fined after, I think it was 30 days or 60 days. And it was going to start at a certain amount and then increase to, I think, $1,000 a day after a certain period of time, which is ridiculous.
I've never heard of such a thing either.
Elizabeth, it's 30 days and it's 500 at first, and then it goes up to 1,000.
Right.
And it's to keep you from being able to afford lawyers and the things that you should be spending those money
That's our justice system.
Now, I mean, debtor's prison is a thing. You wait. Chances are, when they're done with that, well, now we're not holding you for anything you did, but since you owe us all this money, we have to.
Right.
There is the thing that the media is tried desperately to paint, the fact that you didn't wear a condom as a sexual assault. The way that they frame it, they say everything they can, but Julian is a rapist, which is what they're trying to frame this as, which is just not true.
Well, you've had the CIA pundits go on and say that.
Oh yeah, I mean that was.
Do you remember the CIA? You remember the former CIA director? I can't remember his name.
Brennan, I think.
Not Brennan. No, it wasn't Brennan. It was somebody else. He went on TV. No, he went on TV and he pitched the whole Todd and Claire thing during the 2016 election, and he said that Julian Assange was wanted for
pedophilia.
He said it was. Yeah. He said it on TV on CNN, and he said that he was a rapist pedophile, and I was like, "What?" I was like,
right, but then the CIA is going to try this? They will play that clip as his intro to, what I mean? This is FBI jackass whatever saying this, that, and that, and they don't come out a week later and be like, "Oh, hey, remember when we let that guy come on and say Julian was a rapist? That's not true. Sorry, guys." Right? They will never, ever, ever say that. They make a concerted effort to try to paint you as some sort of monster.
Well, so while we still have Elizabeth, I'm not up to speed, but if you are still involved with Unity for J, what's going on?
Yeah,
great.
Yeah,
and so what is going on, and how can people that are listening right now do something practical? That's what I really like to talk about that. You know that from being on my radio show. What can people do in a practical way right now to help Chelsea and Julian? This is important, guys. Listen up, okay? Because this isn't just this is activist radio. You're supposed to be taking notes. So, Elizabeth,
when you're done listening, you got to get to work.
Exactly. No, I'm kidding.
That's right. That's right. So, Elizabeth, give us the rundown. Give you the table and give us the rundown on what's going on and how people can participate.
Right. So I do co-host the Unity 4J Vigils every Friday at about 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time now with Joe Laurier from Consortium News. And that has been going strong for the last few weeks, obviously with all the different events happening. But as we say almost every week on the vigils, that the viewers should not look at those vigils as the beginning and ending of activism, or like they shouldn't just turn off the vigil when it ends and think, all right, good, done. It should be helping encourage them to go out and do their own actions. And
so in that vein,
sorry, I didn't hear that.
In that vein, though, let's give them practical info.
Well,
where can they go to see the vigil and participate?
Right. So you can find the vigils are at unity4j.com. There's a streaming page there. You can find it on Twitter. You can find it on YouTube. There are channels for Unity 4J and Twitter accounts. But I think
it's Unity for J/live.
Right, that's the streaming page. And Consortium, you can also go to consortiumnews.com, and they have a live stream page there as well that'll be live when the vigil is streaming. But as far as what people can do, it is complicated. It's not, you can't give a one-size-fits-all piece of advice to every single individual viewer. And the fact is that everyone is in a different circumstance or situation. So some people might just have some money laying around, and not a lot of us, but some people will have money laying around that they can donate to the Defend Assange account, to Chelsea Manning's account, which is obviously going to need help and support. You can, if you don't have money, but you happen to live in the UK, you can go to vigils that happen at the embassy. You can go to vigils that happen at Belmarsh Prison now. You can look for more information on that at Wise Up Action, which I believe has its own website and is on Twitter, and you can go join those vigils there. You can also start your own events wherever you are. There's a Unity4J map that shows all the different places around the globe that there are actions that happen. There are some in San Francisco.
So, wait a minute. Hold on. So if I just want to go out and stand in a Mexican city with a sign in my hand that says "Free Julian Assange" in Spanish,
right? Yeah,
and I can just take a picture of myself and put it on that map, and I'm like a one-man protest, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
do
it.
Right? Literally, there are also people. There was one person, I remember this image of them. They were on some sort of mountaintop. They had been, mountaineering, and they had a banner of "Free Julian Assange." And they, said their location, and that shows that support around the world. And yeah, there aren't a whole lot of people seeing that banner on the top of a mountain, but we see it on social media, and I think that does help raise morale at the very, very least.
It's incredible, guys. Everybody out there, come on, man. Who can't do that?
In addition to that,
you can be in a wheelchair and you can do that.
Yeah. So in addition to just showing up and like you said, like making your own banner, if you're not a creative person, or you don't want to make your own banner, you can actually print out the graphic artwork of Somerset Bean, and you can find him on Twitter at Somerset Bean, and that's BEAN. He has done some incredible graphic design work for the WikiLeaks, Assange, Chelsea Manning, all of that.
That's free too.
Yeah, exactly.
I put that in.
Yeah, you can download it for free. There's no copyright at all. So you can make giant posters, small posters. You can print things and put them on corkboards in coffee shops. Whatever you want to do or that you can do. And in addition to that, I always have to say that every single person may have something that they can do that I can't tell them that they can do. So some people may be brilliant musicians. We've had really great musicians create pieces of music. People create artwork. Whatever it is that you have available to you is what you need to be doing. If you're a teacher in a middle school somewhere, maybe talk to your colleagues about it. Maybe talk to the kids in class about it if you don't think you'll lose your job doing it. Do something. I'm serious. I'm like...
No, I know. The way you put that, if you don't think you'll lose your job.
Well, if you're, needing to pay rent, I wouldn't advise you risk your job for that. But I would say to do whatever you can to raise that awareness, So yeah, if you can't talk about it in your workplace, then go, print out those posters or something. But, we have people that are busking in Australia, and with banners around them and raising money that way. There are all sorts of different creative ways that you can help, and some brilliant, brilliant ideas that have come up from the audience themselves. And what I'm going to do in the next few days and week is I'm going to try and make a thread on Twitter just of the ideas that other people have had, just to give people some creative inspiration. Because it's so impossible.
That's a good idea.
It's so impossible to sit here as a panelist and say, okay, well, here are the ways you can help. I mean, there are those obvious basic ways, but there's not a prescribed, list that is infinite enough to address every single person out there. And that's where creativity is the most important tool, I think, more than money, even maybe, more than a lot of other things that we might think are the most important. Creativity is the most valuable thing in this type of fight, I think.
One last question, Elizabeth, and then I'm going to beg off. But for our listeners out there who support Julian and want to become more active, would you consider Unity4J.com, I hope I got that right, Unity4J.com, would you consider that to be a pretty good one-stop shop, regardless of what level of involvement you want to give out, for anybody to go there to get information about what's going on? And the second part of that question is there anything really big, such as any marches or protests, that everybody really should know about right now?
Well, I think actually the best places to keep up to date on the latest information is a live blog that is run by the Courage Foundation, I believe. And they will update with the latest news, the latest articles on what's going on, and that's the place to find breaking news. Unity4J is great for organizing activism, for example, let's say you say, okay, I am going to get that banner out. I'm going to go stand in the middle of somewhere in Mexico and hold it. That would be where you would want to put a picture so that we can then share it. And that type of thing. That's where I think Unity4J is really valuable for. However, people, viewers, listeners, whatever, should not feel in any way pressured to join in with Unity4J if they would rather work on their own. by all means do that. The really important thing is that you show your support somehow. It's not affiliation. And if you find Unity4J is a good resource, all the better. But there's no requirement to join or to work with Unity4J. And the
Can I add something to that, Elizabeth?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. And I would add that Unity4J is ran by all volunteers. Nobody gets paid for anything that goes on at Unity4J. And the people that people think run the accounts aren't running the accounts. So
right.
Don't attack the Unity4J account. It's literally volunteers that are Julian Assange supporters that are just putting out helpful information in support of Julian.
Yeah, and to back that up, I'll say that I don't have the login information for the Unity4J Twitter account. I've never accessed it, and I've never had that information. So, that's because we try to make sure that we're not having one person or two people or three people run everything. It really is, like you say, volunteers. I've never been paid for Unity4J.
It's all grassroots, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, because we want people to be donating to Unity, to Julian Assange's efforts, to his defense fund, to Manning's defense fund. There's no business to be had. We don't want that type of donation.
Yeah, we're not selling a brand or
exactly.
any of that. So
okay, so while you're talking about donations, then maybe mentioning real quick how people can actually donate to Julian's defense fund. This can be done on the Courage Foundation website. I know.
Yes,
and on the WikiLeaks site as well.
Yeah, you can donate to WikiLeaks directly. And that's the other thing I wanted to say was, and there actually is also a GoFundMe for that same purpose as well. But I would want to spend more time checking that out and make sure that it's going to the right people before I donate to that type of thing. But also, I just want to say that in addition to following the live blog run by the Courage Foundation, WikiLeaks' Twitter account is, in my opinion, the best place to go for up-to-date information, because I do see sometimes people getting information and regurgitating it and thinking that it's news about Assange and Manning or something of that variety, and it's actually from, let's say Neon Nettle or, your news, really trash.
Oh, yeah.
So if you want to check that something you've heard is really going on or not, check WikiLeaks' Twitter, check the Courage Foundation, and those are the places you need to look for first. Before you
on the topic of Neon Nettle and your Newswire, Baxter Dimitri got behind the whole Q movement that was saying that Assange was in the U.S. So that should tell you as listeners is that Neon Nettle and your Newswire are absolute bullshit.
No, they're not just bad fake news as far as wanting clickbait. I've seen them actually try to feed disinfo intentionally to manipulate their readers.
Well, Baxter Dimitri's boyfriend is ex-MI6. So
I'm so shocked.
Once again,
pretty sure there's no such thing as ex-MI6.
Yeah, something like that.
No, yeah, I agree with that. But the point being is that, he had those intelligent connections. And Baxter Dimitri is actually the guy who, and hate him or not, David Icke, he had a TV show. I'm sorry, not TV show. He had a TV network that he was going to run for activist. And Baxter Dimitri is the guy who ruined that. So
and we're talking about I don't even know how to explain David Icke's his work correctly.
I've actually spoke to him in person once, and
he's banned from Australia at the moment.
That's interesting, but I mean, I told him, I was like, your whole reptilian theory that I was like, that's
cool,
really out there. I was like,
it's fine. I've always been under the impression maybe they are intergalactic lizard people, but just turn up the aircon and see who falls asleep. I would not. That would be
the whole solution, right? I mean, that would just make sense. It would make sense. Like all of these laws that they're pushing, it would make sense. Oh, they're trying to overthrow us. They're an intergalactic trying to overthrow the human race. That makes sense.
I know he's doing his thing and all of that. That's fine. But
you got to save the snakes and the nukes, man, for the end of the show.
Everything.
Is there anything major going on right now that we should be aware of?
Oh yeah,
marches.
Oh yeah.
Or any other thing that
Trump just said there's a article that went out where it said that there was a document leaked where it said that Trump was going to send 100,000 troops.
120,000.
120,000 troops to Iraq to counter Iran. Now, what I want to give you is the piece that's missing here, and that's the fact that on April 19th, Iranian media reported that they arrested 290 CIA agents, including including some that were in the country of Iran and intelligence agencies. They didn't give a number for that. But the 290 number actually comes from worldwide, that they caused the arrest of 290 CIA agents worldwide with the leak of CIA communication software. So after that happened, the U.S. sent 2 U.S. Carriers to the Mediterranean, and one of those carriers it sent directly to Iran's front door.
That's a weird reaction to all your spies being rounded up.
No, that's the exact reaction that we would get. The thing is that people don't realize is that what's going on right now is exactly what happened under the Obama administration when there was people who were taken, Americans that were taken and held hostage by the Iranians, and then the Obama administration gave them a payoff in, I forget how much it was. It was a ridiculous amount of money. But the point being is the same thing's happening again. And, I
got to quit. Yeah, no, that's what people keep on saying. And I keep on asking the same thing. Does war not have to go through Congress anymore? Or is that just like, am I being quaint? Like, that's just, that's silly, Terrence. War goes through Congress. You fucking crazy. Like, do we not do that anymore?
Well, that's what Rand Paul said, too. I mean, hate him or love him, right? He's the guy who's been saying, they're not voting for war. They're just saying that they're going to package your kids up in a rubber stamp and ship them off to whatever country.
Yeah, I don't understand I don't understand why this no longer has to run through Congress at all. Like you send chips anywhere you fucking want, I guess, man.
I think I can help a little bit with that. Basically, somewhere along the line, I don't know, 50 years
Iraq.
or so, the idea of the Constitution saying that only Congress can declare war, they said, okay, well, but anybody, the president, can wage war. And so that's what they did. They split hairs there, and they said, look, okay, the president can't make it official, but he can still go blow your ass up. You know what I mean? He can still go with the troops, but he just can't call it a war.
I'm pretty sure that's not what the founding fathers had in
They
mind.
took away they took away the right. They took away the right of Congress within the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan.
Well,
that's a fact.
I know
Congress can still declare a war, and then it becomes official, and veterans get war pay and the whole bit. And they usually do afterwards. Like, that's what happened with Vietnam. Vietnam was a police action until a decade after it was over. And then went back. Congress actually went back and retroactively declared it a war. So Congress has the right to make it official. The president has the right to shoot the guns anytime he wants because it's defense of the nation. So,
boy, that sure sounds like tyranny.
And we have an entertainer as our president. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the tyrannical government that our founding fathers were warning us against.
Well, they didn't even want. They never wanted or envisioned a two-party system anyway. I mean, so much of what we have now, it was never envisioned.
That's a standing army. A standing army was mentioned specifically. None of the founding fathers wanted a standing army because they felt if we had a standing army, we would impose our will on other countries. Surprise.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, no, it's a mess, a real mess.
Yeah, I mean, there's even the way that they're saying it. Like, I mean, nobody is calling out the fact we did this with Iraq, right? Iran and Iraq are two separate countries, completely separate countries, with a country in between them. So you're
see, Terrence, you're not thinking about how the Pentagon that planned the 5 years and 7 countries, plan. You're not thinking like they do. They're thinking they got a hammer, they got a nail, and they got problems, so they're going to use their military to go and invade countries.
I don't like the sound of any of that. You've got a hammer and a nail, but we really need a screwdriver?
Well,
that comes back. Go ahead, I was going to make a joke.
We need to keep in mind that a group of baboons is called a Congress, man.
Well, now, can we give the can we give the baboons a shot? Because I feel like they would have a better chance at running this than our current Congress.
I just advocate for letting cats run the government and seeing how things go.
There's a town out. I forget where it is. Maybe Kentucky. There's a town, and their mayor is a cat.
Yes.
He doesn't get a lot done, but he doesn't fuck anything up either. So.
Yep. That's real too. That's not us making that up. That is legitimate. You can Google cat mayor, and it will come up.
I'm curious what Elizabeth's take will be on this. But here's my cure for the whole problem. It's the idea of voting in the first place being the most fair way. I think that everybody's name should go into a bucket, and then once every 4 years, they reach in and pull out Joe Schmo, the gas station attendant. The Secret Service come rushing up on them. You don't have a choice, and you're fucking president. And that's it, buddy. And away you go.
Like a lottery.
Now, let me ask you this. On the level of fairness, why is that any less fair? You go from having a quote-unquote supposed say in who gets to be, and you go to having an equal chance to be president. Why is that any less fair? Why would that be any worse or produce any worse of a government than it's producing now? Then the next
that's a valid point that it wouldn't produce any worse of a government, but I don't think it would produce any better of a government, and that's really what we're trying for.
If you want to produce a better government, just put everything on the blockchain, all transactions publicly on the blockchain. Because guess what? You will not see a payment for the CIA to assassinate people or a payment for the CIA to use propaganda operations within a country. You won't see that because it's all public.
I think we do need intelligent, educated, leaders, or we do get the George Bushes of the world that he has no idea where Iraq is on the map. You're invading a country and you have no idea where it is on the map.
Was that him or was that Trump?
That's another point.
Oh, that was
maybe
Bush.
both. Maybe both.
Electing smart people is not a thing. Like, you know who I want to be president? You know that black guy that does all those physics videos?
I was going to go Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
I don't know his name. I don't know his name, but there's this black guy that does all the physics commercials. He used to be.
Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Is that him? Okay,
yeah,
well,
that's
him. He's the greatest.
Bill Nye.
The United States. I mean, he's going
Bill Nye's not black.
Why do we not? No, I'm serious, Elizabeth. Why don't we elect smart people? Why is that not a thing? Why do not people go like, wow, let's go out and find the smartest person
it's like asking, why don't we elect people with integrity? It's because, right now the voting system is rigged. We don't have, we need to have term limits in Congress, blah, blah, blah. But as far as your idea before about like a lottery system, the reason that in my opinion, like that in theory could work, but the problem would be that, that would be just as rigged as the voting system is right now. So you could have people, screwing that over and not making it an actually random system, just like right now. If you're in Broward County, you could vote for, the moon and it would still come out as Debbie Wasserman Schultz winning. So, I mean, it's just.
Yeah, I think $10 says as soon as that was implemented, the Clintons would miraculously win the lottery
every single
time. It's the weirdest thing.
It's the weirdest thing. All that election fraud. It just happened.
Well, then there's the use for the blockchain. It's a cryptographically perfect ledger. So we allow the blockchain to make the pick.
Well, I mean, I think not to get too distracted off of the after some of the issues that we have to go over, but I think our system is not perfect, and to think that we can't make changes in the things around us in the way that we vote, term limits, corruption inside, how funding is considered, all of those
let's
things
make lobbying
can be
bribery.
changed. Yeah, I mean,
seriously,
basically
it was.
It is.
Oh, no, it definitely is. Look, propaganda used to be illegal. It's not. They specifically made laws to make it legal again. We can specifically make laws to make it illegal again.
NDAA signed under Obama 2012.
Publicly funded elections. Oh, no, there it goes.
Yeah, but most
when it costs $1 billion to run a presidential election, we're screwed.
Oh, now right now it was between the last time that I checked, between the midterm elections, just the midterm elections was almost $2 billion they spent to get these assholes elected. $2 billion. Imagine what you could actually do with $2 billion. $2 billion is every single kid gets a school lunch in America. That's $2 billion.
Also, you could fix Flint's water because that's a big problem.
That's only $77 million.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you could fix it about
Hillary
100
spent $1 billion
times,
by herself.
whatever.
Look, they
And lost.
They took it. Yeah, how do you spend it? I don't even know where to start with that. You managed to lose at a game you were cheating at. How is that possible?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how it's possible. It's much easier to rig a primary election than a general election because the Democratic Party was for Hillary and they controlled their own system when it came to the primaries. You have red states where the DNC does not control the rigging process, and therefore you have President Trump.
Well, and the people that I talked to, right, like on the exit polls and all of that, the people that I specifically talked to, and I went out of my way to talk to Republicans, most of the people that voted for Trump that I talked to said, yeah, they were going to vote for Bernie, right? They didn't agree with most he was saying, didn't agree with him on guns and some other shit, but they didn't feel like he was lying to them. That's what I heard over and over again.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
It wasn't even a consideration for the corrupt, really.
Well, I would say this. I was at the DNC. And for the whole protest thing, I was there that whole entire night. Actually, I watched Abby Martin and somebody else get arrested.
Nina Turner.
But no, I don't remember who it was at the DNC. But her and some guy got arrested in front of me because they were crossing through, and they were saying that you can't cross through this area. It's off limits to people, press, all that. And they crossed through it, and they got arrested for it. But the people that were there that night, okay, every single protester that was there knew all of the crimes that Hillary has committed and knew that that there was massive rigging that took place during the primary against Bernie Sanders. People were fucking pissed.
Well, you'd have to be stupid not to see that. You go to Bernie Sanders, if he was a rock star, he would have been the most popular rock star on the planet. Sold out every single show to the point there were 10,000 people waiting outside. You'd see a Clinton rally and there were 5 people standing there, all multimillionaires.
Yes. Thank you for pointing that out.
And they make it sound like, she had plenty of support. You just didn't see them. They were all
No, she did not. Because some of the rallies, I saw some of the rallies, and they actually photoshopped some of the rallies, and it's pretty funny that they did that. I don't know if the Clinton campaign paid them to do that or what, but I would be interested to know that.
Well, it wouldn't surprise me since they also paid for a social media presence that didn't exist through David Brock. I mean, it's like every single type of fake consensus building they did,
Yeah. Well, so the thing is that all this says though is that Biden's a shoo-in. And I think this is a shit show. I mean, I just can't.
Biden Kamala 2020 is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it is. Like the trick they use, although they're using them, nobody believes.
I'll bet you $100 in Bitcoin right now.
You think Trump's an idiot, wait until you get a load of Joe.
Yeah,
Obama locked him in a closet for 8 years because he kept sticking his shoe in his mouth.
Yeah, he can't talk without.
To make sure he didn't open his mouth because he was such a fucking horse's ass. I mean,
even
Biden
Obama
is known
didn't
in Washington as the biggest gaffer in history.
Look, there isn't.
It's also very creepy around young girls on Congress's floor, and there's a lot of videos of that.
That has a heartbeat.
He's just creepy. He's just creepy. I like
saying not just young girls, man.
Yeah, no, I just the whole like hair sniffing thing where he's like, "Oh, times have changed." You're like, "Nah, man, it's never been cool to sneak up behind somebody's wife and start sniffing her hair. That has never been cool. There's never been a time in history when that was cool."
There's a picture of him with his hand on a police chief guy's knee. I mean, he does this to men too once in a while. I mean, it's absolutely anything with a heartbeat. He's got his hand.
Hey, for fucking Biden, any hole's a goal. Any hole's a goal.
Biden and Trump. I think that's a set deal. Elizabeth, how is America going to deal with that? I mean, come on.
Nobody is buying it. When it was the Clinton thing, you had plenty of people out there that were buying it. Now, when they post a fucking poll, right, their Twitter is filled with people calling it out as bullshit. They don't get a chance. Nobody except for the media believes them, and I don't think they even realize how much power corporate media has lost. And every time they post another bullshit, Biden's ahead in the polls, you can't even fill up a fucking school gym. You're not ahead in anything. Right? Nobody is asking for Joe Biden.
He's going to get nominated, guys. I don't care what you say. He's going to get nominated. They want him nominated. The people who are
if they nominate him, you're going to have likely
people
are going to riot. People
Look,
are
no,
going to
this is what's
riot.
gonna happen, and I know it's a pipe dream. You guys know me. I am the king of fucking pipe dreams. Look, they're gonna nominate Joe Biden. Bernie's gonna go as an independent. He's gonna get Tulsi Gabbard as his VP, and we got this in the bag. Easy money.
That would work if anybody had the balls to pull it through.
I have been pushing.
I don't think Bernie will do that. He's too cowed by the DNC. I don't know what leverage they have that was mentioned in the Podesta emails, but that leverage mentioned in the Podesta emails, I believe, is a real thing, and I think that's why he has been shilling pro-Russiagate. He's never said a word about Assange. I don't think he has any autonomy, and I think all he does, I think,
No,
is
they got something on him.
he tries to do his best on domestic issues, and he keeps his nose out of anything else. And I don't think he has a chance in hell of winning. I think that they're allowing Tulsi to come in and get a little bit of attention because they see her as a spoiler for Bernie, which is true. And I don't even, it's just the way it is. I really like Tulsi. I like her platform a lot. And she's the only person in that entire field that I could see having enough of a spine to go independent once she's cheated and Bernie is cheated. I don't think Bernie will, but I think she could. And that's a hopeful thing, I think. And I also think that you'll see either a Kamala Biden ticket or a Biden Kamala ticket. I don't care which way it is, who's running VP or who's running president. Those are going to be the two that I think come out of the Democratic primary. And I think that, as one of you were just saying a second ago, I think people will riot essentially especially if they win. Look, but think about that for a second. Think about Biden and his role in the '94 crime bill, and then think about Kamala Harris and her role in
the military, the prison industrial complex. Literally. I mean, it's when it comes to Biden, it's not the crime bill. There is not a single issue where he has ever stood with the people. Not Absolutely. One. You can go down his list. You can go down his list, and there's not a time in his career.
He also has a quote. He also has a quote where he says that he loves lobbyists, and he
says, yeah, look, just because somebody gives you a couple $100,000 doesn't mean I'm going to put my arm around him and say, come here, buddy. That was his fucking quote in 2019. The world hates fucking lobbyists. That was your quote. I don't think that he's out of touch. I don't think he's listening at all.
Well, this was like the 1990s or 80s. He said that he whores himself out to lobbyists. So that's the equivalent to Hillary Clinton saying that she gives two different speeches, one private speech and one public speech.
Yeah, one for the bank. No, she said one for the bankers and one for the people.
Yeah. Right.
Well, the thing is, though, the reason I bring up the crime bill and the fact and Kamala's history is because that's where the two of them share something in common. They are both people who have really, horribly treated, the public as far as the whole prison industrial complex is concerned. So they share that, whereas, Kamala hasn't had the type of time in office that Biden has had to have that kind of horrific history that he does on all sorts of different issues.
Yeah, and I mean, he gave her the tools to do it, but I mean, Kamala Harris personally put thousands of young black and brown people in prison for life. For life.
Wow. Yeah, and then she makes a joke, trying to make herself seem, like somebody who the public could kind of relate to. She makes a joke about
smoking pot. They all do that.
No, but it's ridiculous. It's sickening. But because of all of that, I think that's why there will be a riot. And you know what? Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's the only way that things will ever change. I mean, that's my way of looking at it, hopefully, is, I really hope that will be the straw that breaks the camel's back enough that people get out in the streets and we have an American Yellow Vest movement. That's what I really hope for.
Well, unfortunately, ours has been co-opted fucking quick.
Yeah, ours has been co-opted by Q.
Yellow Vest. I mean something like that. I don't mean literally the same movement.
Q.
I think
the government is showing us what a joke they are by, having people that aren't even as smart as a fifth grader as part of Congress. I mean,
well, we have a guy that doesn't have a, he's the guy in the presidential office that has a,
but these are people, these are politicians that were voted by, they took pride in their ignorance. You know what I mean? Like they do. They do.
Yeah, you're right. AOC, she thinks it's just a joke, man. Oh, I got plenty of time to learn what I'm doing. Well,
you really need to come into this knowing something. I mean, even if you don't know what's going on, you need to at least put on the show for the rest of us.
The thing is, I don't think Trump really knows, like his first day in office, he's probably like, hey, what am I supposed to do? You know, like
Well,
I
no,
really
he did.
don't think
He
he
did.
knew he didn't know what he was
Trump
doing.
doesn't have to do anything else. He gave the longest, tax scam in U.S. history. It will take us decades to get back out from under that, if we ever get out from it again. Right? He did his part. Everything else from past that is icing on the cake. Same with Obama. Right?
Did you see his
he
fucking
did the-
immigration plan where he wants to cherry pick fucking immigrants?
Wow.
Yeah,
like,
he
I
wants
mean,
he wants
the
to cherry
Gestapo's
pick
plan on what
immigrants.
to do
Immigrants who speak English and have a college education are the ones who will get their green cards first. That is fucking
Right, and
bullshit.
if you don't,
Well,
if
they
you
have
don't
to
know,
sign up to
Oh,
work at
that's
his
the way it's
golf
supposed to
courses.
be.
They got to
this-
sign up to work at
it's
his
the
golf
same-
courses. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, this was the same tactic that they used for the Polish, right? You were
Right.
getting too many of those Eastern European immigrants that were coming
Yes,
here.
my,
That
you know,
was
my
the
father.
same
My
tactic
father
that they
came from the
used.
communist. You know, escaped from a communist country. Didn't speak a word of English, and now he's a very rich man. You know, I mean, you don't have to speak a word of English to be a smart person. You know.
That's just not
saying.
part of. That's just not part
Exactly.
of part of the American culture. Our founding fathers deliberately didn't come up with a language for America, and they could have. When they did go to take a vote of it, it came out like it was 50% German and 50% English, something like that. It was split pretty far down the middle, and they thought about it and thought, you know what? It's just not part of the American experience to demand that somebody else speak a language. Right? You're free. Be who you gonna be. And-
There are some countries that do demand that you speak the local language. Like if you want to be a citizen of Norway, you need to speak Norwegian. So, but
Yeah,
I
if you want
don't
a
believe
German-
I don't believe that is a recommendation to become a United States citizen, and nor is it a law.
No, and Germany is another one that requires you to speak German, not for immigration, but when you take the test to become a German citizen, you have to take a language test as well.
Well, that's a U.S.
I have
too.
to note with that. You have to note with that they will actually educate you into that.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, they give you
So-
like part of your immigration process is these classes that you have to take. I had
Yeah.
to choose between my English and American citizenship.
Well, I'm
when I
not talking
turned
about
18.
citizenships. I'm talking about green cards, which is something completely different.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, throughout
those are
Europe,
two different things.
it's open Europe, so I mean, as long as you're European, you can work.
Yeah,
So
you're
that's
pretty much
not-
able to
that's
live
not-
anywhere too. So.
Yeah, that's not really an issue in Europe. You know, some people are from Spain. They speak Spanish. It's just that's not the biggest. Are you going to have that paperwork on my desk or not?
Yeah, the first English only laws in the United States were passed against the Germans in New York.
Yeah.
It's a domino effect. Now they're trying to do it again with the Spanish, and it did with the Irish also when they were, speaking a little bit different. They were
Well, even
pushed to the side.
now in Ireland, right? So when you're, the fact that people speak Irish and that that schools are taught in Gaelic and all of that ignored by the rest of the world, right? It's not even counted as a real language by the UK. Just to throw that in there. So I mean that's kind of that English only policy.
Well, it is actually their native language, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's the native language of Ireland. It's taught in the schools, right? We
I
say
thought
Gaelic,
Gaelic
but it's just called.
was Icelandic.
Oh no.
No, Gaelic is also in Wales and in Ireland.
My bad.
But what they speak is, we call it, we say Gaelic to kind of put all of them together, but they speak Irish. But it's not, like patois in Jamaica. It's not because, England doesn't acknowledge it as a real language. The rest of the world doesn't either.
Interesting.
But again,
Yeah,
you're less
yeah.
of a person, right? You don't speak the number one language. We get to pick what that is. We get to
Yes,
tell you
but
whether what you're
it
speaking
doesn't
is
make
real or
sense
not.
to me that in order to get a green card to America, the people that will be first picked to get a green card to the United States will have to know English and have a college education. I'm just not seeing it. You know what I'm saying? Because
Well, you see, Tyler, that keeps out the quote unquote undesirables.
Yeah, the riffraff.
Right.
Like our grandparents. None of us
Yeah,
came over here. None of us came over here on a luxury liner with millions
yes,
of dollars.
but
in our
that creates
pocket.
the hunger and the desire to get ahead when you have the opportunities from the country when you have the opportunities presented to you in the new country that allow you to get
Oh yeah.
that we're
No,
not
I'm not arguing with you about that.
Speaking of hunger, guys, who's going to flip all the fucking burgers after 20 years of this
machines.
I think robots.
Robots. Merit-based system, all right? I mean, you're going to have
It's already-
you're going to have a country full of physics professors and nobody to cook for them.
It's all going to be AI, man. They've already started it.
They already have AI cook kitchens. Yeah.
Yeah. And McDonald's
actually,
there's some McDonald's across the U.S. where they're actually using full AI robots.
Yeah, there's also the automated.
Right,
there's also using
McDonald's,
AI pizza delivery
the orders
services.
are taken at call centers in India now.
Yeah, so I mean, there are plenty of jobs that are done, that are there to be done by humans for pay and all of that stuff. They did use this same excuse with the invention of the cotton gin, right? If we can't use you as slave labor, our whole system will fall apart, and that's just not true, right? Oh well, if we pay you $15 an hour, if we pay you nothing but slave labor wages, then the system won't work. Nah, I bet you that McDonald's, the CEOs, can take a fucking $100,000 fucking pay cut each and pay their workers a working wage. Right, so
but it will also be more our luxury thing, I think, because there will be still a demand for people making food. Because look at these expensive sushi restaurants, for example. You want to have like some Japanese guy actually making it for you and stuff. There is a demand for that, but it's going to be like high end.
No, that's I
Just
agree
look
with
at the
that.
obesity rate, and you can see there's going to be plenty of need for food.
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, look at things that like the explosion of taco trucks. Is the rest of the world, is food trucks? Is the rest of the world?
Yeah, they're bomb as fuck too.
Yeah, well, like the corporate world is telling you, well, there's going to be no more jobs for people working, in food services anymore, all done by machines, where everybody's got their favorite food truck, right? And they pay their workers a working wage.
I would say there's not going to be any more labor jobs. There's not going to be any more jobs where you're going to be unloading things off of a truck or stocking shelves. Anything of that nature is going to be phased out because Amazon's
already doing it. Yep.
Yeah. Amazon's already doing it. They actually just started about a month ago. I remember reading it, and I was like,
that was the whole point of them trying to do. You know what the Amazon workers were complaining that those goals that they're supposed to get on a day were impossible.
Yes,
that was done
because
on
they were
purpose.
for robots.
Yes, because they were designed because they were supposed to phase them out to the robots and give them an excuse to fire the human people.
Yep.
Now, is there
100%.
do we have any information on whether the company is actually being ran by people or is it being ran by heartless, soulless robots?
I would say it's 10% robots and 90%.
I would say
90%
Jeff
people.
Bezos is probably Emperor Palpatine. Just putting it out there, like he looks like it.
But his goal, Jeff Bezos' goal is he wants the, if you have an Amazon Prime account, he wants you to have your package either same day or next day. And that's literally impossible with a human workforce. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, workforces change, right? We're not all slaving away in the fields anymore. And it's always the people at the top that give us that same excuse, right? If this in any way changes from the current fucking slave system we have, it won't work.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos doesn't give a shit about people. He just cares about money. So,
well, that's why he's going to have
big for that.
Going to have a rocket ship where you can take a tour around space.
Yeah, I'm cool with that. I mean, that's the deal, though.
And
I mean,
motherfucker's probably going to colonize a planet, and he's going to name it Bezos.
Bezos. Well, when we liberate it, we'll change the name.
When we liberate it,
I trust Tesla more than
the red
Bezos,
resistance
though.
is real. Why should we pay taxes to the fucking center planets when we don't get any of the benefits?
God, man.
Yeah, and this whole week they talked about now they're wanting to go mining on other planets.
Oh
now.
Jesus, guys! Did you? And I don't want to get too distracted.
That's
because
crazy.
I know it will turn into a shit show. But did you guys hear Ted Cruz say that the reason we need Space Force is to stop space pirates?
Yeah, he did say that. I saw it on Twitter too.
Wait, what?
He gave a 5-minute speech about fucking the fears of space pirates, and all I could think of the whole time is, where do I sign up for that?
I did not hear about that. That's amazing.
Call Elon.
Yeah, he said we have
I
the
guess
risk
that's
to
why
pirates here on the
ATW
ocean.
tweeted
Yeah, he
space
said, look, the
pirates
risk
are
of
just
the-
another excuse to put
one of-
FEMA camps in space.
Yeah, no, he said we have the risk to pirates on oceans, and we will face the risk to pirates in space now too. So we need a
I have an
space
interesting
force.
theory about the space force, actually. I have an
He laughs
interesting
and
theory
stupid.
about why it started. But I think that they use disclosure, the deep state, who is sitting on some considerable amount of information about this, I think that they use disclosure for political purposes. So, for instance, Clinton and Carter, they both went into office saying they were going to disclose.
Disclose completely.
They were going to get to the bottom of it, and they were going to disclose. And they were locked out of that information. In Trump's case, they knew he would never disclose, so they go to him, and they do disclose to him. They show him fucking everything. And Trump comes out of that fucking warehouse in Area 51, green under the gills, and he can't sign the Space Force fucking legislation fast enough, right? So how about that?
It's existed for years. That's the thing. It's existed for years.
They use the information. They use control over the information to control the president. So if they think that they can gain something, I think they probably did the same for Reagan. They knew that Reagan was not into disclosure. He would never disclose anything that was revealed to him. So they go to him and they disclose to him. And the next thing you know, you got Star Wars. Star Wars is this huge thing. They got to build space-based defenses. Why all of a sudden? You know,
Really, there was a document in WikiLeaks that said that the Soviets had destroyed a secret U.S. moon base, and the document
there was talk about that when we saw
the document's
the backside of the moon.
missing. The document is missing in the WikiLeaks cables. It's not there. So Julian Assange has that information. I was told a few years ago, I was told that there was a U.S. military program in space where they had a military base on the moon. And the source gave me a history all the way back to the 50s when they're talking about they want to build a military space program. And
well, I mean, chances are there is a nuclear silo, at least on the base. But I mean, when you think about it,
I don't know about nuclear silo.
Can you name
anywhere?
Can you name anywhere on the planet where we don't have a nuclear silo?
Yeah, I guess when you look at it like that, but I mean,
like they've got them hidden in the back of like fucking people's houses in Iowa and stupid shit like that. We strap nukes to every single aircraft, plane, truck that we possibly can. The fact that we've got one in space is no surprise to me.
Well, the thing is, they were using it for mining operations. They were using it for mining operations. They've been mining the moon for years, and other like asteroids and comets and all that. They've been doing it with robots, mining them for years.
Well, I will say with a small.
Let me ask everybody this. I want to ask one question of everybody. So let's assume for the sake of argument that I'm right, and that Trump has been disclosed information, and that's what spurred him to do this crazy, off-the-wall Space Force idea. Why is that a bad idea?
Well, because we already have NASA and the Air Force.
Well, yeah, there's also the Air Force Space Command.
Space Command.
Level and aliens.
Well, I mean, look, if aliens show up, right? Our military is not. I mean, that's not even an option. That's not reality. That's monkeys throwing rocks from fucking trees, right? If aliens show up tomorrow, do not point a fucking gun at them. Right? That's just not reality.
I don't think this is about aliens at all. I think this is about other countries not being allowed to be in the satellite space.
Damn, and I was thinking of that movie. What was that movie? Space Troopers or whatever? Like with the bugs?
I mean, most likely, America at the moment has unfettered access to view every corner of the planet with satellites.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
They can do whatever they want up there, and they're going to lose that power. And if there is one thing that our government loves, it's that weird voyeurism. They got to be watching.
Because China and India are launching stuff now too. So then they want to have like militarized stuff in India now.
It's kind of like a space Cold War, so to speak. They're all trying to get military equipment into space and trying to build bases up on the moon. China and the UK are actually building a joint base on the moon, and the US and Russia are quote unquote building a base on the moon as well. So all of this stuff that was once quote unquote conspiracy,
John said
it's starting to come out.
Their shit crashed.
Yeah, but I mean, we need to. I mean, eventually, I don't want to get. That was just the Ted Cruz insanity. I don't want to get too distracted. We could talk entire shows on just disclosure and
we should do that.
Alien. Yeah, I think we should here.
The show.
Yeah, that would be awesome. To be honest, that would be awesome. Please do.
Yeah. I'll try. I mean, he used to follow me on Twitter, but I lost my other Twitter account, so
yeah, we lost 1.3 million people on Twitter in just one account, in one go. But no, I don't want to get. There's so much going on. We could talk nonstop because there's so much there. It's all of the pieces that you like in discussion. There's
oh yeah, I could go on a massive rant that would just last this whole entire rest of this show, but we already talked about that last week.
Yeah.
So there's no point in reiterating it again.
We made a promise when we started this that we would not be a UFO show. Because it always ends up in the same place. But no, it was just Ted Cruz's insane comment that we need to stop space pirates. And I don't know if you've ever seen a sci-fi show.
Watch out for the Somalian space pirates. They're going to steal that satellite.
Well, aren't the space? Yeah, I want to be a space pirate, but aren't the space pirates? If you've watched the science fiction, they're normally the good guys.
Actually, John, I'm responding to John in the comments. Why Israel won't give up on the moon? John, that the Israeli space program is not actually funded by the Israeli government. That was 100% independently funded.
Wait, come on. First of all, what is not funded in Israel by America? Do they have
it was all done through independent donations since I believe only 10% of the money actually came from the Israeli government, but 90%.
Well, geez, don't tell the flat earthers that.
Yeah.
One guy who tried to launch a rocket.
Yeah,
he tried to launch a homemade rocket.
I wanted to get him
to himself.
Yeah, I wanted to get him on when he did the peroxide rocket. It was really, that's fun. I know, it obviously didn't come out the way that he said it wanted it to, or he would have been all over it, and he immediately went silent.
Yeah,
it would have been hilarious to have him on. I mean, I probably would have trolled the hell out of him and been like,
I don't think you have to. You don't have to troll flat earthers. You just let them talk. Let that work.
Like my coworker, you're right. They sound really dumb, and they bring it all into like the Bible and Jesus and shit, and I'm just staring at
it's always
I'm staring off into space, be like, you're fucking crazy.
Talking to flat
earthers. We had them on in the past. I mean, we have to work with one.
I mean, here's the thing, though. What's worse, Q or the flat earthers? Or
are they flat earthers? I've never met a flat earther that wasn't into Q, so I don't know. I thought they were just the name changed. It was like a branding change in my mind.
Oh man!
It was like the CIA
how do they tie in flat Earth to this? Like Jesus and the Bible and shit, and I'm like,
you don't have to be real. You just have to say Jesus. You don't have to back it up with any sort of fact.
And nobody said they could read.
Nobody said they could read.
It's that AOC logic.
No, it's kind of like that New York Times reporter on Joe Rogan. He didn't have to really question her at all.
Oh, yeah. Remember her.
And have no idea. You don't even know I mean, what did he ask her? Can you define democratic socialism? And blank. Completely blank.
Well, basic words that she was using, she couldn't define. He's like, well, you called Tulsi an Assad toady. So what is a toady? What is that? And she's like, can you Google it, Jamie?
My editor wrote that word. It was not me.
It's a band from the 90s, right?
Exactly.
Oh God.
No, there was that in what there was another journalist that had, but it came on the BBC and fuck it. I mean, he's not really a journalist, talk show host. Crap, I can't remember his name right off the bat now.
Well, in 2019, talk show host are journalist.
No, those aren't the same thing. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Those aren't the same thing at all.
Oh, so Rachel Maddow? Oh God.
None of those people are. Okay, if you want to know, right, the people that the corporate media call journalists aren't journalists, and the people that they say aren't journalists are super easy to figure out.
Yeah, that goes into the whole
Remember
Julian
that,
Assange thing again. I
Yep.
mean, how do they have the balls to say Assange is not a journalist, but these kind of people are? Like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
not
remember
only
that tough interview that George Stephanopoulos gave Hillary? Neither do I. There wasn't one.
there wasn't one. That's why I was trying to go through. I was like, what? That doesn't sound right.
No, I
Well, the
mean,
fact that Rachel
he feeds her
Maddow-
the questions. You know, it's kind of funny. You know,
Yeah.
if not, she'll invite him for a jog in the park.
Yeah.
Who was the one that fed Hillary questions during the debate? That was
Donna Brazile.
Donna Brazile. Yeah.
Yeah, she works
I mean,
for Fox now.
Of course.
Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? She went from working on the left side to now working on the right side of the media.
There is no right side.
Yeah, that's not really, because I mean, even when you see the media as it works now, right? Left and right, CNN, Fox News, doesn't
Yeah.
particularly matter. They're going to play it's nonstop Trump and nonstop fucking, just kind of divisive bullshit. And the reason is it doesn't matter when he says that he's good for ratings. That's not a lie. People watch him because
Question,
they
though.
hate him. People
Have you ever
watch him because
seen-
they love him.
Have you ever seen America so polarized politically up until this point? Because honestly, like
No.
I don't remember in like the 2000s and the 90s, like America being so like polarized. Like
You know what? In 1990, go in and mention police brutality and see how polarized we are. Now it was.
I mean
now it's-
politically, I'm talking about left and right politics.
Yeah,
Maybe Reagan. Maybe
I think
during
it's-
Reagan
Divide
because
and conquer.
yeah.
Yeah, there's. I think it's always been about. It's always been a lot like this. The people.
I remember there was a lot of shit, during the Clinton stuff, and there was a lot of shit, during 9/11. But I don't remember an extreme polarization between the left and the right up until Trump. I really.
Oh, it's been happening a while. There's some studies out showing that the polarization is getting worse. It's taking
Obama
time,
started
but
it
it is
pretty good.
happening.
I'm from the mid '70s birth area, and I remember all the news media used to just present you the news. They didn't really lean one way or the other. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, nowadays it's so one-sided. I mean, it's not even.
That's the CIA. That's what the CIA
Yeah.
did. The media, like
Opinion politics.
Yeah, it's like
I
if
mean,
I watch
there used to
CNN, I
be-
know it's anti-Trump. If I watch Fox News, it's pro-Trump. It's like
Yeah.
Yeah, there used to be
Unbiased.
Not just unbiased, but there was a part in journalism where you were giving the story. It wasn't always their job to make an opinion about it. It was this is what's happening, right? This is what they said. There
Walter
was
Cronkite died.
yeah.
Oh, you mean
Yeah.
Mika Brzezinski's statement that it's our job to tell you the new, our job to tell you what to think
Yeah,
is
Well,
not
yeah, there you
legitimate?
Yeah, when did that become now that is a perfect spot for for a talk show host. Like that's the deal. You're a talk show at that point.
Well, the entertainment companies own all the news stations now. ABC,
And-
Disney owns them, and NBC.
Yeah, it's six or seven companies.
Universal.
And that
Six
is
or
part
seven
of it.
companies all own the
And
media.
you wonder why we got a bunch of actors running for politics?
Well, our news media has definitely became entertainment, right? It is, the most entertaining thing that you'll see in news. It really
Yeah,
doesn't.
It really
Sit
is
at
the
the
most
wall and make
entertaining
it
thing I
stick.
watch. It really is the most entertaining thing I watch. I will have to say that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
I
then they'll
mean,
slip in a Disney advertisement right after, they talk about somebody getting bombed in Yemen or something, Well, come visit Disney. And it's ABC.
yeah, for your next vacation, try Carnival
Yeah.
Cruises.
Yeah,
And other
to
news.
Disney Yemen tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another reason that you see that definition reverse that you're mentioning earlier, where Assange is called not a journalist and Maddow is because the definition now for them, for the corporate media people, of journalist is now a lying propagandist who's pushing the establishment, government, state narrative. That's their definition
in
of what a
bed with
journalist,
Russia.
journalist
Agree.
is.
That was said perfectly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I hear people
100.
talk about
don't
left
agree
and
with
right,
you.
I don't think that is the right definition either, left and right, because
No, because
I
even
can
on the-
honestly say from Europe, from my perspective here from Europe, I can honestly say that both Democrats and Republicans would be considered on the right side in here, in most countries.
Well,
I mean,
there
universal
isn't-
health
there
care is
isn't-
as old as
yeah,
I
there
agree with
isn't.
that.
Ours isn't left and right here in America. We've got the far right and we've got the centralist right, and that's
Yeah.
Yeah.
Democrat and Republican. That's it. Like there isn't.
Neoliberal and neocon.
Yeah, those are the left and right that you see in power. They have nothing to do with being conservative or Democrat, right, or liberal
Right.
or conservative. Even when you look at
Or
our
right or
show,
wrong.
right or wrong is what's important, right? But even when you look
Oh, that
at
don't exist.
at our show, you know what I mean? We're conservatives and liberals and progressives and anarchists. Right, that is actually.
You got that last one. Thank you for that.
I got you.
All right.
Right?
Yeah, no, but just
I
to
get
say
so
real
sick
quick,
of-
I mean, the most right-wing party in here would like never say like remove universal health care or whatever. They would like no one would vote for them. Like maybe they want it,
Exactly.
but yeah,
Exactly. Well, yeah. Well, that's
Right.
the thing too. Like, people that actually consider themselves progressives. The people that would vote for Bernie or Tulsi, that would never vote for Hillary Clinton. Those type of people. They want to return us to something like like what what's his face Roosevelt had back in
Yeah,
the
FDR.
30s. We want another New Deal type of a situation, and that. It was considered socialism, but we've already
Yeah.
had it in the United States. So I think it's
Yeah,
been
but the
really,
New Deal failed.
it's been very, very skewed to the right over the last few decades. It really, really has. So that whole terminology definitely is misleading, for sure. That's all.
Well, and I mean,
Roosevelt's New Deal failed, and that's why we got involved in World War II, is to develop his military-industrial complex.
Well,
That's
I
the
think
only thing that got the
aspects- I
country
think-
out of the Great Depression.
I think that in some aspects, there are parts of the Green New Deal in FDR's world that didn't turn out to work. There's going to be parts of this Green New Deal that don't turn out to work out the way that we want to.
The
But there
current Green
is-
New Deal is corporate friendly. It's not legitimate in my
Yeah,
opinion.
it's not. That's the deal. It doesn't go for somebody that's an actual progressive, right? That's actual on the left. It doesn't go anywhere near far enough. Not to take the corporate, the corporate corruption of our government out, which is really what we need to do. The literal infiltration.
Nonsense. That's nonsense. No. No. You mean we have
When
to?
you got Jeff
We have to
Bezos
clean
with
to actually
$130
clean the
billion.
swamp.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
fill it with Goldman Sachs and fill it with fucking Betsy DeVos, who is the
I don't have the right. I don't
Her
want to say
nephew
on
is
air
Eric
what
Prince.
I feel about Betsy DeVos. Yeah, is it something in that family that just bred horrible people? Like
right?
your brother is a mercenary that can't make money in being a mercenary, which I didn't even think was fucking possible. Like killing people is probably the most for the U.S. government is the most profitable job you can fucking get, and this guy has managed to run 2 companies into the ground over it. And then his sister is probably the most evil person on the planet. It is weird. What was that family doing?
Is that his sister, or I thought it
Betsy
was
DeVos and Eric Prince are brother and sister.
Okay. I don't know why I said that. That he was her nephew. I don't know why I said that.
Nah, they're brother and
Doesn't-
sister.
Doesn't
thought it-
DeVos,
okay.
doesn't her husband own the NBA team? The
I'm sure he
Orlando
does.
Magic, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. I mean, they're so rich. They own all sorts of. I mean, they own all the stuff that rich people do.
So
That's
just
what we
real
want
quick,
for politicians, man.
about what Elizabeth said, like
Republicans
the
and-
corporate power is too influential in the United States, and I think it has to do with the lack of worker unions in the past. In Europe, we had like a huge rise of worker unions. It has mostly to do with the rise of communism in the past too. But the only result that really benefited the poor people and the workers, opposed to the corporations, they were like able to speak back, was the large unions of workers, and I think that's
There's
what I mean to
unions.
say.
There's unions here in the U.S., but they're not.
Unless you're in
Um,
a white,
as a model.
unless you're in a
powerful.
right to work state, or you work for a big corporation. Look, you
Right.
work for Walmart, you work for any of the big corporations. You are not allowed to get in a union at all. You will be fired for mentioning a union.
Yeah, I was about to say
Yep.
actually that they illegally tell their employees that they're not allowed to discuss it. It's
Yep.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yep.
but that's
And
And
I-
unions like in Chicago,
I
New
have-
York, or so.
I
they're
have
on
actual
job mafia
experience
anyway.
with a union. I'll give you a quick story, real quick story on a union. When I was working in a supermarket, and they came up to me and said to join the union, right? I joined the union, and then I start getting harassed by the store owner, Okay. And the store owner actually he had us sign our resignation papers by saying that he was going to switch us to another store.
Wow.
This is how much they hate unions.
Oh yeah, you're going to demand like health care and like a working wage. I mean, that's what they fear about unions. And the sad part is they will still be insanely rich, right? The Waltons aren't going to go broke if they pay their people $15 an hour. They might not be able to buy the 10th yacht.
Right. Yeah,
Right?
but he had us sign our resignation papers. He lied to us and said that he was going to transfer us to another store. I find out after the fact that after I signed the papers and everything, right, transfer to another store, I find out after the fact that he can't do that because of each store is individually owned by different families. So my union person said that, you shouldn't have signed those papers. And I was like, well, what can you do about it? Oh, well, we can't do anything. You signed the papers. I was like, wait, so he's allowed to do that? I was like, what?
Yeah,
I was like, how is that not illegal?
Yeah, you're normally within contracts you have in good conscience, sound mind, all of those things are put in specifically, are specifically to keep people from, telling you it's one paper and you signing your life away.
Right.
So how big are these unions then, percentage-wise? Like, let's say you're in healthcare. How big is in healthcare? How many percent of healthcare workers are in a union?
It depends on your state. So, like, if you go to the East Coast and you're in, New York, Pennsylvania, right, you can't do anything without a union, right? You there's a homeless people's union. You cannot do anything without a union. Then when you get into the Midwest and the South, where they have spent, you've got the right to work states and all of that, they've specifically made it so, they can fire you and they say right to work, but that means we fire you if you go to unionize. In those states, it's the exact opposite, and they've done really well in propagandizing, about unions, about what you get, about what their uses are, and all of that stuff. If it was which airline company was it this week that put out a thing to their young workers that rather than join a union, buy a PlayStation, buy a gaming console.
Wait, what? Really? I did not see that.
They put for for the same price of a union, $700 a year, you could get and they put a gaming system.
Wow.
Instead of, that it would be a better use of your money. This was from, I can't remember the airways that it was. It's one of the big ones. So, American Airlines, U.S. Airways, one of those, to buy a gaming system instead of it. This was posted in their,
that's fucking hilarious.
In their legitimate pamphlets, and they had a little, game controller as the graphic and all of that shit. But that's truth. For $700 a year, what you would pay for a gaming system, right? You get healthcare, legal advice, right? Legal representation, safe work environment, you know what I mean? A working wage. Yeah, that works out about right. Yeah, that's about right. For the same
Except if you sign anything. If you sign anything, all that's void. And I had no idea of that. And the thing is that he took advantage of all of us because we didn't know our rights. And it's like, how is that legal? How are you allowed to do something like that?
It depends on how. They've done everything they can to take. This has been a long.
I know, yeah.
When we went talking about the FBI and Hoover, who was top on that list of the FBI watch list and union bosses?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. If you were in your union, you were a communist.
Yeah,
which means
years
you have
ago.
no rights.
Yep.
Right. That was one of the reasons for the creation of these organizations, right, of these alphabet soups, was to stop people from unionizing. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to chain you to these machines anymore. We're not going to be able to make our money, right? The same excuses. Who will run these jobs, right? That's the same game over and over again.
Okay, so in here, on a national level, about 1/3 of all people are in unions. And if you are above, the age of 35, then it goes up to 45% of all people. So, and the unions also organize protests, and then when they have such amounts of people working with them, they can actually shut down the country if they want.
Yeah, you try that over here, and they'll be like, "Oh, you just left and walked off the job? All right, now hiring."
Yeah, so sounds really communist, but if you're dealing with so much corporate power, then you need unions like that. You need unions like that to speak back.
The word scab isn't even really in our vernacular anymore. And, there used to be a time when, that was the worst thing you could possibly be called, is breaking union lines, of being a scab, right? Is being one of those people that comes in and works against the union, against the people. Now, I mean, that's just common business practice.
It's called putting food on your table.
But that's when we have,
but it is.
when we have, that's the deal. When they take enough of the power away from the unions, that is part of the union, is when you go on strike and those things happen, that you've got the funds and you've got ways to take care of your people, even though you're on strike. And that has to do with numbers.
Yeah.
When we've got a national union, when you look at the fireman union, the fireman unions, the cab unions, those are unions that, when they shut down, their guys
The electric union too.
Yeah. And that will shut down the country. Those cabs stop running in New York. Until Uber was created, that was it.
See, that's what I mean. That's the real power you have against corporates when you can do that. And then you have like an equal discussion.
But the problem in America, and I know that this, that there's a lot of immigration in Europe right now too, but in America, the fact that the, illegal immigrants in the U.S. are not documented, so they are paid slave wage, labor, they're treated very, very badly, and that type of labor pool can come in and, beat the labor cost of any, legitimately documented worker, and so that's another reason. I mean, immigration in general is one of those issues that is never going to be fixed, quote unquote, in the way that the left or the right want it fixed. And at the same time, neither the left or the right are actually going to change the status quo of having masses of people that are undocumented in the US, because neither of them want to change that type of labor pool access to their corporate backers. So
yeah, and I think it gives the Democrats, they have no intention. Look, you want to shut down spots with kids in cages? Go there, right? Have every Democratic congressman that gives a fuck, right? Storm the beaches, right? Kick in the doors. They're going to arrest you? Right? But that's not...
They took away all the pensions, too. That's another thing. Now it's all 401k, so you don't have a retirement pension anymore. So that's going to force you into that cage either way, Darren.
We'll just wait for the 401ks to collapse when
that's
the stock
deal.
market comes down with
it's
them.
connected to the stock market now. There used to be a safety in your retirement, and
not no more.
A lot of that has to do with our love with the coal companies. Right. And they, just completely took our retirements, wholesale, and moved people to 401ks, changed the laws to make that happen. That was all courtesy of the coal industry. Because when they
coal
shut down
and oil, isn't it?
Yeah, because when they shut down those old coal mines, right, they didn't want to pay any of those workers their retirements.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
Then they go around talking about that we've got all these $121 trillion in liabilities to pensioners and stuff, and they're like, well, we can't afford it. So now even cities and counties, they roll you into a 401k. You don't have a retirement.
Oh, that's easy. We can just take it out of the tax money that they owe us from holding all that money in Cayman accounts, right? All those offshore tax havens.
Hans sounds like he's flying a helicopter in a non-grid. Are you actually in the grid, Hans?
Yeah, kind of.
I knew it. He's flying a helicopter in a non-grid. Hey, we're going to talk about Venezuela, guys.
Yeah, it is on the
that's
list.
a good,
What is our
good topic?
time? We're about 12. We got 2 more hours left. So.
No, we have 1 more hour left.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, you're not doing very good math.
That's some Bush math.
That's that public education.
That's flat math.
Bush fuzzy math.
Bush math.
The flat Earth math. I'm the smartest guy there ever was. I do more.
I don't even
maths
think
than
flat
anyone
earthers can
else.
do math, man.
I don't either. It's like
Science not our strong point, guys. Science not our. We blow shit up for money. That is what we do. That's really where our.
You remember the
expertise
flat
fucking
earther
ends.
that made a rocket that went up 1,500 feet to see if the Earth was flat, but yet he doesn't know that if you have to go up at least 100,000 feet to see the curvature of the Earth.
Yeah, that was a guy. Yeah, that was a guy we were talking about
We were
earlier.
talking about him earlier. Yeah, fun.
Fucking retard.
I would. Yeah, I wouldn't. And it doesn't you can't just. Ugh.
Anyway, So about
Yeah, I'll get him
Venezuela.
healthcare either way.
So I think the Feds stormed the Venezuelan embassy.
That happened today, brothers and sisters. So our the people that were holding strong at Code Pink at the Venezuelan embassy were arrested today. All 4 of them that were holding out. I think part of that was because Jesse Jackson had came yesterday.
Yes,
and they were
but
getting
what legal right do they have to storm? Like the actual building is a foreign entity. They don't have the right to legally enter. It's actually considered a part of the foreign country.
It's a violation of international law.
It's an act of war.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's an act of war.
that's where where we don't acknowledge the leadership of another country. So that gives you what we're using that as an out. Since you're not the real government, we don't have to respect any of those treaties or anything that was between us.
Yeah, that's what it seems.
By
now.
real government, you mean you're not our puppet?
Yeah, exactly. If you're
Laws
on
are
top,
people.
we don't have to obey the laws. We make them up as we go along, and we ignore the laws that we don't really want to follow.
We were at war, illegally at war with,
a dozen countries?
A dozen countries? Yeah, a dozen, maybe more. I mean, when you look at proxy wars and all of that stuff, we're not big on following the law.
Well, we might be going with war to war with Iran, despite what they're saying in the White House.
This is the deal. I think that the government definitely wants to in the worst way. The American people, even after 9/11, you don't see droves of young men and women signing up for the military. Nobody is signing up to go.
Hell no, they'll draft everybody.
Yep.
I don't think it's going to fly the way that it used to, where people aren't going. Nobody wants to go and fight in Venezuela. I think that game is over. I honestly think if they don't get a war in the next 3 or 4 years here, it might not happen. Not in that way again. Just because you have the ability to talk to Iranians, they can't paint this dark, amorphous figure on the other side of the world that wants to kill you. You can literally talk to them. And we've always had the ability to.
Oh, you just wait. You just wait. They'll block us from talking to Iranians. No, I'm serious. Like they've begun to split the internet, and that's dangerous because then we can't talk to the other people.
Well, yeah, Russia's going to
and China,
are going to have the Great Wall of the Great ISP of Russia, and that will be it. They will not be able to communicate with the rest of the world.
I tried telling Susie that too, and she was like, "No, they're
Putin signed
doing."
Putin signed it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I told her. I was like, "No, you won't be able to communicate with us. We will never speak to you again."
Well, here's the deal. They are going to make several countries, because who wants America controlling your internet? I mean, that's stupid. Right?
It's not even the U.S. controlling the internet anymore. It's ICANN, I think, right?
Yeah.
No,
to be honest.
we gave it to the ICANN.
The UN.
We gave it to the UN.
Yeah, so I can't see.
Oh, we gave our internet to the UN.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, so I can't.
Jesus.
I can't see, a lot of those countries wanting the control of their internet being in the hands of another country that doesn't have their interest in mind. I mean, that's normal. I wouldn't want them in control of my internet. Now, that's completely separate on being able to stop us from talking to each other. That's not a reality. They've never been able to stop us, whether it's the Federalist Papers or the internet, right? They have never been able to stop us from talking to anyone.
I don't know.
Right.
If they build a different infrastructure,
the second we get the technology to the point where we can, send the information as fast as we can to another place, the faster we can spread our primal hatred towards another person. It almost seems like it's happening faster than we can say, you know what.
So you turn off the American internet, right? Or
I'm saying is this is proving how dumb humanity is at its core.
Yeah, we're living in a time where you can get terabytes and terabytes on a USB, right? But what's to stop me from downloading every single YouTube video made about
He dropped. Oh no, he didn't.
Yeah, and handing it to somebody is in one of the countries that you don't want that information to get out to, and it'll be out everywhere, viral the next day.
Okay, so what you're saying is we should take everything on WikiLeaks, put it on a USB drive.
No, put it on a million USB drives.
Right.
Well, we did that project before with the mirrors of WikiLeaks.
I was talking about making physical USB mirrors.
They actually do have the downloadable backend of the site. That's what people thought that was the dead man cage, which I kept on saying it wasn't. That's what.
Yeah, I
set
said
up
the
on
same
purpose.
thing. Yep,
So you could download
There was a
the
new
website.
file in it, but it had nothing to do with the Deadman Switch.
Yeah. Nothing.
And we're getting to
It
the
constantly
time
gets
where-
files uploaded to it.
Yeah, and we are
Yeah.
getting to the time where information isn't, because being able to put that much information on a single USB and give literally the entirety of the US internet or the the European internet or whatever to someone else to upload, that really takes, that negates all of that. Like, it negates that whole system. So yeah, you might not be able to watch my live stream, the moment that I'm doing it. But one of my buddies in Europe, I'll hand him the USB and he'll upload everything that I've ever made ever, that we've ever made ever. And then that kind of, putting the firm wall between us and any other internet was pointless. And every year that number gets bigger.
I still think what they're doing is they're splitting things up. And what they're
100%.
doing is creating a new infrastructure that's not going to be IP protocol like the World Wide Web is now. And it's going to be a whole new protocol that's not going to interact with the IP protocol. So they're going to create a new infrastructure in Russia that is not accessible to anybody else
Well,
in the
basically,
world
what they're doing is
without that protocol.
They're unplugging the ISP from
Right.
the main ISPs that connect everybody else. But yeah, so it basically makes it an intranet, not actually an internet.
Internet.
Sort of. But-
Like a local
I see
LAN,
what
but
you're saying.
just user.
Right.
Local LAN.
I'm
Like,
definitely worried about it, but I don't see it having the effect that, you can no longer communicate, talk, or share information around the world. Literally, since writing was invented, they haven't been able
Well,
to
if you
do
think
that.
about it,
That's what they want to do. He
of-
said that. Putin said that.
a
Oh, yeah, but that's what
majority
they
of
always want to do.
A majority of
Russians.
Russians on the internet are not on Twitter and they're not on Facebook. They're on VK, OK.ru. I mean, Russia. If Russia wanted to unplug from the internet, I'm just saying, social media wise, they don't really.
They could.
They got it. They got it down.
Yeah,
So-
but I mean,
Yeah.
why would a Russian citizen want to get on Facebook and have Facebook sell their personal information? If you had any alternative, you'd use it.
That's what I'm saying. Most Russians are not on Facebook. They're not on Twitter. They're on.
Oh, I mean, to put it out there, I mean, VK probably sells the information too.
I mean, there's.
Oh no, I think they give it to you're part of the state. You give all of your information freely to the government. It's a communist
Isn't
country.
VK
Yeah, I know, I have to
connected to
advocate.
the Russian government?
Yes,
No, we have to
we
advocate
broadcast
for
the VK.
VK. We have to advocate for VK because VK is owned by the Telegram owners and they refused access to the Russian government to the files, and they actually moved away their servers from Russia to guard the private information of the users.
And VK
See, I
has
didn't
always
know
been
that.
VK's always been really good to us. Just in well, look, compared to the struggle that we were talking earlier,
Yeah.
we lost millions of followers, and those are millions of people that don't know what's going on with Assange now, right? That don't know what's going on, even though the information that we put out that don't have access to that anymore. That's super important. And VK I've never had to fight with censorship.
Mm-mm. Not at
It just
all.
always works.
Yeah, so I mean,
Well-
they've always, when I always say, VK has always been really, really good to us. Never mind. We had some spelling issues.
Yeah, I
Spelling
didn't
issue?
realize he put the B in the V, and I really don't know
I
Russian
spelled
that
it in
well.
Russian. I spelled
He
it in
spelled it in
Russian,
Russian, and I
after the
didn't know that
fact, I
B's are
realized
V's.
Are you serious?
I don't speak
Yeah.
Russian.
Well, you should. They're doing big things.
I speak a couple
Oh, you mean you're
languages,
not a
but
Russian agent?
Russian's not one of them.
You're not a Russian agent? I thought you were a Russian agent.
I thought I was. I thought I was.
Go
a
to
Russian
Trump
agent.
I thought I
University.
was on a show with all Russian agents.
Yeah, I get told that every other day. I thought I was a Russian agent. I'm waiting for my fucking check. Glasiva, please, come on, guys. Can you hook it up?
You can never talk about Fight Club. Never.
You ever heard that song, Big in Japan, We're Big in Russia? That's just the way it is.
Big in Russia.
But no, I mean,
God.
having a platform where we can speak the truth, right? People can do with it what they want. You can agree with us, not agree with us. You can debate about it, which is really what, we're big into, is having the conversation. But It's great to be able to have a network that you can post on it, that you can have that interaction.
I was about to say, speaking of cutting off internet to other parts of the world.
That's something that Tim Berners-Lee, really wants to get down, because he really wanted HTTP and the World Wide Web to interconnect the world in a way that it wasn't done before. Because before, all we had really was BBS and dial up another computer, and that's kind of what we had at the time. But the Solid project, I really don't know the technical details about how it works. But it's supposed to.
It's like a mesh network. I looked into it a little bit because Vivian Kubrick, she asked me about it, and I wasn't sure about it, so I wanted to study it. So I looked into it, and it's like a mesh network. It works exactly like the old mesh networks do. So, I mean, I'm not sure that it will be as popular as the normal internet now, but it could work.
It might work in an essence that the restrictions that they're putting on the normal ClearNet, as I'm saying, ACTA,
right.
Article 13, Article 17, and now we have that'll be shortly coming to the United States as well. So what I'm saying is that, if we have all these restrictions tied into the normal ClearNet, who's to stop us from, adopting an alternative protocol that is kind of legally outside of the loophole?
Oh, I think it will cause that to happen.
We do have other things. We have peer-to-peer networks. We have internet to peer. We have Tor. We have Onion relays. But nobody's really. The only ones that
I2P. How many people use I2P?
I do.
Come on,
I do.
I understand that, but I mean, how many people in general actually use I2P?
What are we doing?
It's not really that popular. It's even Tor. Even Tor, Tor's become more popular. Daily. Right, but Tor has become more I'm saying that Tor has become more popular than I2P. Like I2P has been around
since the 90s.
Yeah, right. And
that's what I mean. I've got certain things
it still
that only
hasn't had
work.
Any adoption.
Yeah, there's certain things that I don't know if it ever will. I mean, there's certain things that
pretty much hackers and techno gurus.
Yeah, I don't want to go too much into it. I don't want to go too much of it into on the show, but I mean, there's definitely some uses that it will only work with. So, yeah. It's going to happen. The draconian censorship caused these things to be created. It really is. Necessity is
code your freedom.
Yeah.
The old anti-sec saying, code your freedom.
Yeah. So they're coming down and trying to control the internet and control information will always have the opposite effect. It will cause more people to be literate, not less. Requiring people. Go ahead.
The solid system is actually very similar to what we are actually already using with ABB because Tyler, you're already using software that streams to all these different social media at once, and that makes sure that we can never get censored by them. And that's kind of what Solid is too, that you can have an independent.
So basically, it's doing like broadcasting, like 204 dot and 255, kind of like it's just doing like a broadcast.
Yeah, and then it's with all your data, kind of like that you become like independent from you. You get like you have like an app or something, and there's like your data in it, and you can connect it to all the different social media, and decide what social media gets what data and stuff. Like it is like in that way, it is gives you full control over your stuff. So.
Even if we sit now, when we ask ourselves, and this is I'm asking the panel, do you think that censorship has worked? Like we're still here. We're
still here. Great. Give them that outing.
Well,
give them that chance, right?
As we sit, look, we've got Commander X on the show. How many people on this panel have not been, have they not tried and spent probably between all of us $1 billion, a couple $100 million to try to censor, and has that worked? you know, for what they've spent for guys that don't get paid, right? That don't make any money off of it. You know, we spend nothing to make that. Well, we spend to make this happen, but we don't make anything off of it, right?
Well, I've personally been censored on Twitter, even Medium. Fucking Medium banned me.
Yeah,
Who
but
the
I mean,
hell gets banned from Medium? Like,
They banned us. They've banned us.
Yeah, I know.
They've banned us from Facebook. They banned us from Twitter. They banned us from YouTube. Right? Censored our stuff. Has it slowed us down at all? Do you feel banned? We're broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter now.
I'll tell you, I do feel banned because I had about like 5,000 Medium followers, even though I never even used it. Like, you know, I was still gaining followers over time. I mean,
you know, he's right. It does have an effect. I mean, it's had an effect on me. I know in particular regards to Twitter. I've thought about it recently. I'm so afraid. I have 2 books coming out this year, and I need to eat. I mean, if I don't write the books, I starve. And I need Twitter to sell my books. So I'm actually self-censoring myself. Lately, I have been pulling my comments and not being as robust on Twitter as I usually would be, because I'm afraid to lose my account, in my case, because I need it to make a living.
Yeah.
Give a fuck.
That's exactly me too, Commander X. I mean, like I write, and that's my day. That's my full job. You know, that's my full job. I'm a journalist and I cover different things, different topics, talk to different people. And when they took away my account, they fucked me over hard because I lost sources, I lost my audience. You know, like
I know it fucked you over too when they reported your account to share.
Right.
But even then, you know, would we be as popular if they weren't trying to censor us?
I think it's the opposite. I think that you probably have much fewer listeners than you would if they weren't censoring you. I think that's a fact of life when it comes to independent media, when it comes to stuff like what you're doing in your project, and all of us. I mean, I think that to a greater or lesser extent, even if we do manage to keep existing on Twitter and even with self-censoring, I think that we reach fewer people because of shadow banning and all sorts of other things like that.
I will say,
unless we hire a guy on the inside.
I will say that without Twitter censoring me,
can he just volunteer?
Yeah, you could.
We have somebody on the inside. They're just not ballsy enough to go against
Twitter execs.
What the hell's her name? Delbus. They're not ballsy enough to go against Delbus. But the point being that I was trying to say was, I guess you're right, because if Twitter didn't censor me, and Facebook didn't censor me, and all that didn't go on, I would have never fucking said, okay, I'm going to try to help build another social network, and I'm going to help fix this problem. I'm going to reach out to all these different people, and I'm going to start marketing back channel and helping them build projects by connecting them to coders and everything else. Because this whole entire censorship thing that's going on, it's killing the alternative media. Like a lot of alternative media sites now are completely banned from Google ads or Amazon ads or anything. And it really started with the adpocalypse that was going on. And when that happened, I said to Luke Rogowski at the time, who was the We Are Change guy, I said to him, I was like, I'm going to fix this problem, because I was like, this is insane. They're censoring information by censoring alternative independent journalists. So I made that pledge, and, you know, I worked with Chris and everything so we could try to build something better for everybody. And without that, I guess it never would have.
From you know, like, look, we've lost, you know, millions of Facebook and Twitter accounts and users and all of that. But from my personal experience, and this isn't everybody's experience, but I would definitely have less viewers, right? Less respect or street cred in anything that we do if I wasn't being censored. People would not believe a word I said if I was being posted on CNN. Not, you know what I mean? Like, they just would not trust anything that I had to say.
Actually, you know, speaking of shows, we have more viewers this show than we have in a few weeks. So,
well, we do have 2 pretty awesome guests. So I mean, I'm sure that has something to do with it.
Well,
one of which I pulled at the last minute.
Well, there's always also a huge middle ground between something like CNN and you know where we are now as far as the status of independent media. I think we can hope for and work for a larger audience and fight against censorship without becoming the establishment and becoming the mouthpiece of something like CNN. For sure.
Oh, absolutely.
Or TYT.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
Right.
that's a route, but that involves look. That becomes censorship because then you're just selling out. Then you're no longer actually getting the type of information out there that you all are getting out right now. To me, it's the equivalent of being banned completely because your voice is gone at that point.
Yeah.
Well, now we have things like Steemit and the project that I'm working with, which is Somi Social. I'm just going to plug it. We actually just went live with our block rewards, so you can start earning now. So that's cool. But now we have those types of things in place. So, years ago, we didn't have cryptocurrency. We had no way to
have a
fund ourselves.
ledger.
Well, that too. But we had no way to fund creative people. We had no way to fund anything like that without being inside the system. Now there's a whole new system that's been built that's in cryptocurrency. So you can't censor somebody if they're using cryptocurrency and people are paying them in cryptocurrency. It doesn't work that way. So we're building alternatives to their Orwellian systems that they're building. Like Facebook, they pretty much shot themselves in the foot when they banned Farrakhan and Alex Jones and who's the other people. But the point being, I don't care what you think about their speech. The fact is that banning somebody, saying that this individual, first off, saying that this individual, you're not allowed to talk bad. You're not allowed to talk good about them. You can only talk bad about them. I mean, that's just insanity. That's telling you what to think. I don't care what you think about Alex Jones. The fact that you can't type in "God bless Alex Jones" on Facebook without getting a message that says your post was deleted
Violates our content.
Right. Yeah. It's insanity.
You know what we're seeing. I know this is kind of sad. Is we're seeing the dumbification of the internet, mainly because 90% of it surrounds social media.
Well, it's the only. I mean, as terrible as it sounds, everybody knows that they can't trust the corporate media anymore. And I mean, your only alternative to that.
That does not mean go get your information from Alex Jones.
It's even gotten worse to the point where hosting companies for websites will get rid of you based on your content. So now they're censoring you on a level that they've never censored you before. So the only thing that you would have. Somebody else is talking. Go ahead.
Yeah, I got a great example for you guys today. This morning, I was trying to register the domain name for my new book, American Gestapo. Did you know you can't register in most places a domain with the word Gestapo in it?
Yeah, same with.
I'm serious. That's why I've got the cheesy domain name I have. Because I
oh my god!
Same with we've been
every time I put it in, it didn't even tell me that it was censored. It just said this domain is not available, as if somebody had already scored it, which I knew they hadn't. Right?
You should try the IO domain names. That might allow you to do it. Maybe.
But if you have a .io and you have a .com and he wants to sell to everybody, he has to have a .com.
Well, social media instead of passing laws or using terms of service.
I just crazy that this word Gestapo, which can mean many things and has absolutely nothing to do with politics or anything, it's just a fucking word in the dictionary. But I can't use.
Doesn't that come from Nazi Germany though?
Well, but that's the deal. So even us that have been, that we post, when we're doxing people, when we're posting, that video of somebody being racist as fuck, right? We've had those taken down because they took them down because they said they had, Nazi whatever in them. But we're showing it to expose it, not to, to promote it.
That's
and
a good point.
Still took it down anyway.
If you expose Nazis and they're wearing like Nazi flags or whatever, then you're promoting Nazi stuff.
But here's the deal: is that I don't believe in Nazism, but Nazis should not be. You know what I mean? People should not be censored off the internet. They have a place and they have a forum for it. But the second we start censoring things that we don't agree with, then we're
go after the things we do agree with.
Exactly. That was my situation. Okay, I'm trying to write a book that has absolutely nothing to do with Nazis or actually really the Gestapo. I'm just using hyperbole in my fucking title, for Christ's sakes. And I can't use the word Gestapo in the URL. It's not that anybody made that decision. I am just forbidden by a filter.
A domain. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, no, that's crazy, man.
It's actually dangerous to education too, because that's these Nazi flags and stuff. That is just what these people had, like a flag back then. It's not like you have to show this stuff if you want to like educate people.
Or
about
history
this.
will repeat itself just like it always does.
Yeah, like you can't.
Flags or memes.
Yeah, you can't expose.
Actually, you know
things
what?
for
I've
they
heard
are.
is that racism, worldwide is on the rise. And that's something something that history will repeat itself, and we will see another Hitler like a movement coming in the next couple of decades.
Especially with the technology from China, with the whole social credit system that they sold to Venezuela and they sold to India. Yeah, imagine that Turkey's Erdogan gets that system, right?
Aragon.
Guess what?
That his name is.
Whatever the fuck his name is. I don't care what the hell his name is. Like, point being,
he sounds like a
no.
dragon.
I really, he's a fucking no. I hate that guy. He trapped Serena Shim, and he basically had her.
He killed her.
Yeah,
no, she was banned from the country. Okay, she was banned from the country. He invited her back in and said, "You can give me an interview," and then she was dead.
Yeah, I mean, he had her killed.
He had her killed. Remember, they made it look like an accident with a cement truck.
Yeah,
yes, on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah,
oh,
and
yeah,
she wasn't.
that's normal.
She had no.
And then she was taken.
And she's
and then she was taken. She was taken to a military hospital
where she had a heart attack all of a sudden for no fucking reason.
Wait, well, I'm not done. Then she was taken to a military hospital that's run by Erdogan's daughter. Yeah.
So
I'm
she
fucking
didn't make
pissed.
it out of the. She didn't make it out of the hospital.
And then
like
her
Clinton
cousin.
story.
And then her cousin is taken to another completely different hospital. It's clear what the fuck happened there. But anyway, the thing is that if Erdogan gets, or whatever fuck you want to call him, if he gets that system of the social credit system, okay, we're going to have another situation where we have a Hitler entity that's going to rise to power, whether it's in Turkey or it's somewhere else. The fact is that if that system gets widespread around the world,
of the Ottoman Empire again.
it'll be worse.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you have
I don't know, but
credit
they're also
system.
censoring. They're also censoring our internet already like that now in the EU. So there's nothing special. It's going to happen everywhere.
Well, that's true. That's true. They're censoring the internet, but the social credit system basically is the government having control over
you. This is the exact same shit that happened right before the fucking rise of the Nazis.
Well, I mean, I think part of the problem is we are getting down to the last few people that remember it. That remember the Nazis, that remember the rise of any of that. We are literally down to.
Oh yeah,
I think,
my grandfather.
10.
My grandfather, his profession in Hungary, he was a forger, and he would forge your papers if you were Jewish, and he would make you into into a Christian, whatever denomination that you wanted to do. So, for my family, it's pretty fucking real,
Yeah.
Right, that's what they had to do back then.
But we used to have, most of the population had lived through it. You would have never been able to push through those kinds of policies because they remember those policies. And now we've got we've got it to, there's only 10 people to speak out and be like, oh, hey, remember Hitler did that same shit. I'm not doing that again. And it means a lot when it comes from a person that was actually there. And now we've got this, this big gap in thought because the people that are talking about it now didn't experience it firsthand.
Well, since we're talking about the Nazis, let's talk about the Stasi, and let's talk about how Amazon has a company. It's called Ring. Okay, they want to create, and I'm not kidding you, they want to create a basically camera system that is networked through neighborhoods. And then create a crime network on top of that.
They've already got it.
News.
They're already it's already it's already being done right now.
They're not reporting crime news yet. They were hiring for the position. I reported on it. But the fact is that they want to create a basic police state using these cameras, and then say, "Oh, it's okay, guys. We're going to keep you safe. We're going to hire so and so to write your local news based off of." The crime reports that this system gives, and it's absolute insanity. It's the Stasi all over again.
Xeno, just real quick, that the Stasi is actually created after World War II, right? That is the Eastern German
the
secret
Eastern
police.
Blocks.
And that pretty much
Was it?
never went away. Yeah, that pretty much never went away. That's
I thought
pretty
it was
much,
created during Nazi Germany.
No,
that
it
is
was
more
after.
just the
No.
Gestapo, actually, where X was talking about. That's actually the Gestapo.
Yeah.
I did. Okay, all right.
And the Stasi
That's
is the
the first
Eastern
time I've been
German.
corrected on that. I've never been corrected on that. I had no idea. I thought that the Stasi was created during Nazi Germany, so it was actually after World War II.
Yeah.
That was the Eastern German. Like, it was divided with this big wall, right? Germany, and in the east you had the Stasi, like the secret police, and but they never actually were dissolved in a way that nothing existed anymore. That later on turned into the Secret Service and stuff of Germany. So they actually have
Interesting,
all the
okay.
same stuff still. So
And they were associated with more like with communism than Nazi Germany, right? Because they were the,
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
The
well,
Socialist
you guys
Party,
taught
yeah.
me something today. I had no idea of that.
Yeah, because the Stasi I don't think was formed until the 50s, and I don't know the numbers right off, but it's 50 something.
I had no idea. I thought it was formed in the 40s in Nazi Germany. I thought that was
Wow.
the police force
No, because
that they had. That was the Gestapo?
No, yeah, that was the Gestapo in Nazi Germany. The Stasis are afterward, and I think it's an acronym for the government agency that actually held that. And I don't remember what the acronym is, to be honest.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
No, don't feel bad about it. I mean, I only know it because I live like 200 miles from it. So
That was I should know more. That was like my first. That was kind of what turned me into the person I am, right? Like the downing of the Berlin Wall was my first action. Was my first.
I actually had a piece of that for like a long time till somebody stole
I
it.
do too, actually.
Yeah, that was. It's not a big piece. You know, I was a little guy, right? I was a kid, but
Oh no, I got a piece that just fits right there in the palm of my hand.
Yeah, that's how
Yeah,
big
it's-
mine was. Yeah, it was the size of
Yeah,
about the size of like a $50.
Well, I mean, within
Yeah.
a couple of weeks, months. I mean, there wasn't a lot left of the wall. It was literally like taken down.
Well, a lot of it,
by
they have a
hand.
big slab of it at the Reagan Museum. In
Oh yeah, I believe it because I think they even took down the one spot that they used to have in Berlin. I think that's in a museum now. Maybe that's the same piece.
I don't know. It's in Yorba in California.
Yeah, but that was my first. That was my first go, and like I didn't, I was a little kid. I didn't understand the political game or anything. Just the people rising up. Like it changed my whole being.
Yeah, you remember how it felt? It was actually an accident. It was a slip of a tongue, and everybody started believing that that the wall was coming down, and they went over to the wall, and then they demanded it had open, and the guards didn't know what to do, and they weren't going to shoot out women and children and the kids, so they opened up the gates, and that's how it felt. Was actually an accident.
Yeah, like I don't think it was. It's kind of what they feared was going to happen. Christmas and World War I. Like the people really did have enough. The German people rose up. I'm sure there was afterward. There was all sorts of government stories on the what, whens, and wheres and why it all happened. But from what I saw, and some of it was from a kid's point of view. But from what I saw, it was just normal people that went over and took a piece of the fucking wall down, right? Hooked your little fucking Opel car up and ripped it down. That was it.
Do you remember? You remember the fall of the USSR shortly after? That went pretty violent for a couple weeks. Remember, people shooting each other with AK-47s in the street.
Oh Jesus, yeah.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that on.
Yeah, I remember seeing that when I was a kid. Yeah.
Yeah. Old videos, documentaries.
I was in Germany, so I don't know how much of that was censored at the time or how much of it was propagandized
They were showing it on the
over
news,
here.
in the United States back then.
Yeah, I didn't see any violence in the street in Eastern Germany. I don't know about. I'm sure there was, right? But I didn't or wasn't near any violence in that way. I saw a giant bulldozer smash into the wall, which as a little boy was the coolest thing I'd ever seen.
Well, pretty much, what my aunt said. She was in the Ukraine at the time, which was part of the USSR. She said that pretty much the KGB was running everything towards the end. The Russian government was really in shambles at that point.
Yeah, I
And
don't
in
think.
fact,
I
was,
mean,
even Putin was still embedded back then as a KGB guy.
Yes, he was a KGB agent, right?
Yeah, he was running like a building there in Eastern Germany.
yeah, that
There is
sounds
actually
about.
documented.
That sounds about right. Him and George Bush Sr. calling each other.
Like
I don't doubt
Gorbachev,
it.
yeah, with his damn
Yeah,
birthmark.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't George Bush Sr. and Putin.
No,
it was
no, George Bush was
Sr. and
George.
Gorbachev.
Yeah, but yeah,
Or
George
however
Bush.
you say his name, but yeah, you know
Well,
what I mean.
he was at the KGB and George Bush Sr. was at the FBI.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
You're making a joke. Yeah, I gotcha. I see what you're saying.
But no, let's we do need to go over kind of a little bit on just I mean we did talk a little bit about Venezuela, but that really needs to be kind of our last issue to go over.
I do have some cyber stuff. So you remember? Do you guys remember how I told you that Facebook had bought some of its surveillance stuff from the Israeli government or the Israeli the Israeli hacker teams?
No, I don't. But
I said it
please.
about 2 years ago.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yeah, somebody's just
I
gonna remember that.
it was a Thursday, right?
yeah, sure. And WhatsApp has been
Oh,
hacked
yeah,
by
yeah,
Israeli
okay.
cyber tools, where they have found a way to basically inject malicious code by initiating by initiating a call. Basically, they're installing malicious code that is
It's a rat, isn't it?
basically yes.
I remember seeing that they could record calls, or not record calls. I'm sorry, record audio, and record video, just directly from using that. Correct?
Yes, it was basically just a spy tool. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
hacked by the spy tools that they installed? That's not a hack.
See, that's
I mean,
the thing. That's the thing. Yeah,
that's what they're designed to do.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is that it's kind of fishy because I believe that Facebook might have known that this was going on until somebody found out that it was going on. So,
I'm gonna go out on a limb
And say, yeah,
and
that's
say,
probably right.
yeah.
and
they
then the next day, the same day, Facebook says it deleted 235 accounts, affiliated with the Israeli government, and I'm like, you only found 235? I was like, motherfucker, there are more than that out there.
Sure. Shit, I can give you a list of more than 235. I mean, I don't know. It's Facebook. We give a weekly data leak of some sort that they have. I don't know. So you took malicious software originally and incorporated into your billion-dollar company from hackers and never checked that code. Is that what you're telling
actually,
me?
essentially, what I've been seeing, and I just putting this very lightly, is that since WhatsApp got bought out by since Facebook had acquired WhatsApp and they were not being run by the original team, they really haven't done too much on the back end to really fix shit up. I mean, yes, they have updates to the apps and they fix some superficial code, but on the back end, they really haven't done a hell of a lot.
This is the same company that stored people's passwords in text files that
plain
were
text.
visible.
Yeah.
In plain text files. Right.
Well, WhatsApp was built on the essence that it was encrypted, but
No, it's fake encryption. It's
Yeah.
fake encryption, and they know it. Come on, it's ran by Facebook, and
It used to
I
be
mean-
a good, nice encryption, but that guy left because they were weakening it.
right.
Yeah.
Well, probably
Not only
because they
that-
told
not
them they
only
wanted
that,
to
dude,
inject spy
not only
software.
that, what Mark Zuckerberg wanted is that he wanted to use the same spying software that he was using on people's Facebook profiles to apply to a messaging and calling platform, which is more intrusive than somebody scrolling over a picture and seeing what they like to buy or what they kind of like so that they can get ad revenue. But this is a little different. When Mark Zuckerberg was suggesting, which the CEO of WhatsApp said, fuck you, this is fucking bad, is he's saying that I want to monitor people's audio text-based communication, so that I know what they're doing.
I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he's like some sort of sexual deviant. Like this sounds like just straight up voyeurism to me. Like
I think
I'm
it originally started like that, like to list all the pretty girls on college.
Yeah, but
Facebook.
who would? I mean, how creepy? How creepy is that? I want to make sure to. Why do you need to know what I'm writing anybody about? Like that is creepy as fuck.
I need to make sure that you're not doing anything bad.
90% of WhatsApp's user base is not in the United States, so they're essentially spying on foreign nations, which makes me think that there is some sort of government edge on that as well.
Okay, well, so with WhatsApp, you were talking about that rat. If you call someone, it opens a direct connection. It's actually a data connection, not voice. It's not analog voice. It's actually data, and it doesn't check what kind of data is transferred between these people.
Who the fuck is writing this code?
The Israelis. That's what they're known for.
Yeah, but
so you can't send rats. It doesn't check it. It's like a data. You just make a direct connection, right? And pretty much anything can be sent to these users.
All of us code even a little bit. Who would write code that gets data without checking it for anything? Just random, just opens up a direct connection to download anything that you want. Who would design that code into their social media network?
Like I said, they really haven't done anything superficial to change anything on the back end.
Oh no, they've changed things, but it ain't for the positive. That's for sure.
I'm starting to think that this isn't accidental.
Oh, that's very much possible. Sure.
I mean, once a week we get on here and tell you about their new accidental data leak. Every week.
It seems like it by now, man. It's not even just data leaks. Like literally, employees coming out and saying how bad Facebook is now. I mean, it's really. It's gotten to a point now. The thing is that what a lot of other people don't realize is that Facebook has multiple apps, and these multiple apps are probably pulling data from all of the apps, and then they're sharing them amongst the group apps that they have.
I think you're being super lenient with that probably word.
I agree, but I don't have proof of that, so it's still in the realm of speculation. But I would say that when Facebook first started years ago, and they had the whole Facebook Beacon program, you remember that?
Vaguely.
I would say that literally is the framework of what has been going on at Facebook for the past couple years now. I mean, how old is Facebook now?
2004.
Yeah, like 10 years.
But it was only available to college students for the first 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, so that he could look at your college, like the other college students' book.
Well, even then, I mean, Mark Zuckerberg hacked journalists to when he was at college. He hacked into journalists who were writing a piece on how he stole the code for Facebook.
Yeah, that makes me question how good his coding abilities were, because I saw Mark Zuckerberg's 2002 web page that he had coded, and it has some basic JavaScript.
Trash.
It's
no,
fucking
come
trash.
on, it is trash.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, he has multiple millions of dollars that came into Facebook through fundraising that it was included by the In-Q-Tel CIA firm, basically the arm of the CIA, the investment arm of the CIA. So I mean,
the what? Am I the only one that thinks that those two things, the investment arm of the CIA, because the CIA needs to be able to invest, right?
Well, years ago, there was a CIA agent, I don't remember who it was, but he basically said, to paraphrase him, he said that we need to take over Silicon Valley and infiltrate our way into Silicon Valley so we are ahead of everybody when it comes to technology.
You should just, hire
real
smart
quote, paraphrase, but yeah.
We need to infiltrate Silicon Valley so we can stay. Why don't you just hire people? You don't have to infiltrate and fucking do all this weirdness.
Yeah, there to blackmail them.
Apparently, they love infiltrating and all that.
Oh yeah, that's what they do. I need to go get some coffee later. We'll need to infiltrate the coffee shop. Probably put a couple of them in jail. I'm gonna need $1 billion.
Why do you need $1 billion?
I'm gonna need $1 billion.
Sounds like a good number.
And a truckload of cocaine.
All right. Well, instead of a truckload, can we just give you McConnell's boat?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna need Mitch McConnell's boat.
And one in Clinton Plains, Mena, Arkansas.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, can we just give you Barry Seal's plane full?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah.
There you go.
He was the first billionaire. It wasn't Chapo Guzman.
Speaking of cokeheads, John McAfee's still out in the Caribbean, getting trashed every day.
I wrote him the other day. I was all like, you could probably, because I know he wants to run for president. I was like, we only need 77 million for fucking.
No, he's running some scam now where he's saying that he's going to reveal who Satoshi Nakamoto is.
Me and you already know who Satoshi is, though.
No, we don't. No, we don't. Stop. I'm trying to keep from getting killed this week.
Well, that's a hell of a segue.
Oh god. But yeah, I mean, it's like, dude, when do you stop? Like, you're gonna run a scam where you're going to say that, like, who Satoshi Nakamoto is, and you're gonna reveal him and this and that and all this other shit. Like,
good luck with that.
Oh my god, man. That's like, didn't you make enough money shilling ICOs? Like, how many ICOs did you shill? I messaged you and I asked how much would it cost, and you literally told me that it was like half the supply, and I was like, no, like what? I'm like, all of these coins that you're shilling, they're really paying like, it wasn't half the supply, but I mean, like, it was close. It was like 30% plus, whatever.
So basically,
in
1 in 40%, right?
Well, it was 30% of the coin supply, and then it was I can't remember how much it was. I want to say 20,000 in Bitcoin, but it was somewhere near there. Like, it was ridiculous amount of money, and I was just like, dude, what?
Yeah, I have yet to find him. I have yet to find him post or do a live stream or post a picture where he's sober in the last couple of years.
He's got
on a good
serious problems, man. Like, it's like he did really good with McAfee, and then McAfee fell through, and now it sucks.
Well, they kicked him off. They basically said, we can run the company better without you. Here's a severance. Here's a shitload of money, and he spent a lot of it.
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, he did be honest. Like, when he started McAfee, it was actually good. Now it's shit. Now it's shit. Now it's
remember
the worst antivirus.
I remember it always being system.
Shit. No. McAfee was never as bad as it is now. Yeah,
it'll run every resource on your computer to death.
Right. Yeah, that's how it is now. It's horrible. And it's just like, why did you guys fuck it up that bad to the point where it destroys your resources on your computer?
Yeah, it destroys all the system resources.
Yeah, I had to buy a $2,000 computer to run fucking McAfee.
But I remember when I had the old, when I had an old Pentium 486, or no, it wasn't a Pentium. It was a couple of processors after that. I don't know. It was like 2000.
This laptop is a Pentium Silver, so
Are they doing because they were running numbers?
I don't remember, but I remember McAfee being fucking horrible resource hog back then.
I don't remember it being that bad. Like, I remember.
Now
there
was
a turning point.
Coding. Yeah, now it's just shoddy coding.
Yeah, right.
Well, it doesn't need to be constantly scanning 24 hours,
That's how it is now, right? Yeah.
It runs like 80% of your resources. I mean, no.
That's not even exaggerating. Like, it really does.
Like, I want this to be an exaggeration, but no. All of your resources, doesn't matter what kind of computer you have.
Yeah. All of your resources belong to McAfee.
Mark, you remember Sven? Remember Sven?
Yeah.
You remember this one guy asked, he goes, "What's the best antivirus?" And he said none of them.
No, of course. But that McAfee, Trend Micro, and was it Norton were hacked, right?
Yeah.
Earlier this week. mean that the Russians got access to the entire network. They're selling this
What?
stuff.
Who got hacked?
McAfee, Trend Micro, and Norton. Norton.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was
Symantec, by the way.
That was earlier today. No, earlier this week. Yeah.
Yeah, earlier this week. Yeah.
Yeah, they have the source code. Now they can just make their own McAfee.
Oh, that was the article that I trolled, and I said it wasn't. Yeah, okay, I remember.
Yeah, there was that article.
Yeah. That was the article that George Galloway retweeted, and then I was like, oh shit, maybe I might want to pull this down because I was only fucking around.
Selling access for 30K to the networks.
Otherwise, George Galloway is going to expect like a random cyber attack in the EU.
Whoops.
Let's see. We're down to the last. Well, I guess we're down to the last 15 minutes.
Last 10 minutes.
Yeah, I do want to kind of give a quick update on Monsanto Bayer. They lost another $2 billion to a couple in $2 billion with a B lawsuit this week, Monday, to a couple in California. On top of that, although it was non-binding, their entire voting population of their stock voted to stop the continued Monsanto merger, since it's not all the way through yet. It's not binding, but the entire voting, stock voting block voted against it.
And on top of that, they also had a scandal in Europe and France where they were accused of keeping dozers of influential people in France and in across Europe. Actually, it's
so
funny.
they're not
They
accused.
confessed to Europe.
They're not accused. They came out and said that they were keeping files on politicians.
No. They only came out and said that. No. They only came out and said that on Europe. They were accused of it in France. There was a France newspaper who came out and said that Monsanto tried to bribe them, essentially. And then they got shit for it. But a fun little fact here is that Richard Dahl, an old researcher, years ago was paid off by Monsanto using it as a consultant's fee. He was paid off to write off Agent Orange as being non-harmful. Like, oh yeah,
My
Agent
grandfather
Orange?
died from
that's not harmful.
from Agent Orange.
so
It
you-
caused leukemia.
Yeah, and if when I was in Vietnam a few years ago, the places where we dropped it are still toxic. And I'm talking, you see babies with birth defects.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it
100%.
was, you saw, through every generation, you saw generations of people that were born with birth defects because
Cancer.
of this. Yeah, because
Childhood
of this.
cancers.
It was really it was kind
and
of.
scientist Richard Dahl, who was one of the most famous scientists of that era, arguably, he said Agent Orange doesn't cause cancer, and then it came out that he was paid off. I think it was like $1,500 a day or something. It was something ridiculous, but the point being is that he said that the narrative that it didn't cause cancer.
Oh,
so
no, it's
now,
not toxic. You can drink the shit. It's good for you, really.
Yeah.
He said
But-
that. He said that's good for you. Pack of cigarettes a day will definitely. It's good for you.
They said the same thing about glycophosphate, about Roundup.
Yeah, and that's
Same
really where
exact
they're.
narrative.
That's really what they're.
did they really say you could drink that?
Yeah, in a
no.
joking
Yeah, he
way.
did.
I would hear people say that, 2 decades
Oh,
ago.
yeah? Really?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Yeah.
videotape you drinking it and put it on the dark web.
No, it's it was
No,
in
too
the
far?
just,
Okay.
Yeah, it was in the passing. Just oh yeah, man, come on, it's safe enough to drink. I'll put it on my yard.
Yeah, no, I had family members that would quote unquote water their gravel with it to keep weeds out.
Water their
And they would-
gravel?
no, yeah, like that was a joke in the family, was that they were watering their gravel garden with Roundup, and they were all like,
Oh
"Oh,
my
yeah, no,
God.
this is totally safe."
yeah,
with
it's
it
good
heating
stuff.
Their house, yeah.
There's no
Oh,
warning on. There's no
Jesus.
warning on it. It's
People
good for you.
believe that crap, though. They do.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, yeah.
Even now they do. Like, it's an argument. You know what I mean? They have to go to court and fight, right, to convince somebody that Roundup causes cancer when everyone knows Roundup causes cancer.
Well, everybody but them.
Oh, everybody but the fucking media, obviously.
Remember
Because
they
they're
had
always
too.
they're always surprised. What? Roundup causes
Well,
cancer?
And I mean,
No.
even though we all know it does, the point that matters is that if you prove it in court, then you have liability, then you can sue them and get compensation. Unless you win there, then
I
it
just
doesn't
want to see
matter whether it's true or
Monsanto
not.
fucking destroyed. Just
Yeah.
sue them into
Yeah.
the ground.
They're getting close. I mean, it's marked. I know that Forbes marked the Monsanto buy is one of the worst buys in history. As far as money, they've lost more money than they've lost more money now than they've done since the 1800s, like since the company fucking started.
I also saw that CNBC said that Monsanto and Bayer, which is now Bayer, they lost more money than they paid for the actual merger.
It's been $2 billion. $2 billion was the last one, and then I think it was another couple $100 million for the lawsuit before this. But there's several. That's the deal, though. And what we were talking about earlier, and how you set precedents and all of that stuff. There are several lawsuits in the works that would have, if they didn't find in the people's favor, they would be using that right now. Well, it was found in this last California court not to cause cancer. You're fucked. They'll use that against them. So finding them guilty over and over and over again, it's pretty close to destroying the country. We may be done with Monsanto. That doesn't change the fact that Bayer just bought fucking Blackwater. That can't be good.
What? They bought Blackwater?
They bought the mercenary company?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, great! So now we're gonna have
So we have
not only
pharmaceutical mercenaries?
I think they're just buying up all the evil companies in the
Yeah,
world. To be
sounds
honest
like
with
it.
you.
What are you
definitely
guys
sounds like it.
doing
Like
in
I-
Afghanistan? Well, we're guarding the poppy fields for the poppy production.
Yeah, I just
There
feel
you
like,
go.
is there like a list of the most? Did you guys come up this at the Council of Doom or whatever that?
No, seriously. Like I thought that the merger that they had with Monsanto and Bayer was the most evil merger ever. But now they added a third company.
Well, yeah.
Jesus. I mean, now they're going to have Blackwater going after activists online that are critical on pharmaceuticals. Like,
Well, here's
That's a big point, yeah.
that's exactly what they're doing. So that chemical that they're using, that they supposedly can use to drop large crowds in France against the Yellow Vest movement, is developed by Monsanto. The police departments.
why am I not surprised?
The police departments had refused in kind of just general in passing to use it against their own people. But you know who will use it? Who's driving around the trucks? Blackwater.
Fucking bastards.
So the trucks that they've got driving around with this chemical in it are not being driven around by the police departments. They're being driven around by
Guys just
Blackwater
like-
mercenaries.
All I got to say is just one thing, okay? Learn the Anarchist Cookbook for when those trucks come around. No?
Jolly Roger.
Is that too much?
I prefer the tech manuals, like the Special Forces tech manuals.
Yeah,
are
they're
better.
a little more specific.
Yeah, I was gonna go. That's a
the
good call.
survival guides, things like that.
Yeah, there's a guy. There's a guy. I
Improvised
think
munitions.
there was a guy who wrote there was just look up the fighting manuals from Uncle Fester. There you go.
Oh yeah.
This guy. Yeah, that's what I was when we're always talking about McAfee. Like, if you guys enjoy that story, go and look up the dude that played Uncle Fester. That is a hardcore.
Well, he had that book. It was called Impractical Weapons Manufacturing. I'm just saying
that he
that
he wrote in prison.
Yeah, he wrote a couple
That's
books in
funny.
prison. He wrote the book on how to make drugs while he was in prison for making drugs.
I absolutely love that story. He is my I heard it on the way.
He's a real
by,
Breaking
right?
Bad. You know that, right?
I heard it on the. Well, that's a different. The guy that Breaking Bad's based on is a different dude.
I actually spoke with that guy online. Because he was a big advocate for rhodium and lycaum at the time. He used to go by the screen name Popeye, and then I found out that he was living in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and he was He
Yeah.
actually had a PhD in chemistry, and he was. I'm like, well, what do you do for a living? He's like, well, I just do chemical electroplating now because I can't work in a laboratory anymore. I was like, okay, whatever.
Well, I had talked to him when he was at the. I wasn't in the rehab center. I've been to rehab, but I had talked to him when he had just got out and he was in the rehab and parole system. That interview was years ago, though, to be honest. And he is like the most like laid. He was already in rehab and out when the Breaking Bad show had came.
Yeah,
became
he'd
real
been clean for a
popular.
long time. But, after he still keeps on writing the books.
Yeah, and yeah. Oh, it's a fun story. It's a fun story. But no, just to get back to it.
90
that is
seconds,
kind of-
guys.
That is kind of the update on Monsanto. Fuck Monsanto. Keep fucking Monsanto. Divest, brothers and sisters. Take that money away.
Visit an on-grid. It's worth your time.
Anongrid.cf.
Yeah,
is the
so,
site.
any info we need to give out real quick here to any of our guests?
Nope, just happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming on to really both of our guests, really, but thank you for coming on again. It's us
Free
working
Assange.
together.
Indeed.
Remember to spay and neuter all politicians.
All right.
Dun
And then
Can't forget
See you
that.
next week, guys.
We'll roll up with the credits.
dun 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 dun.
Hereby declare this to be an unlawful assembly.